All right, ready to get started. Appreciate everybody's patience. Well, we worked out some of the technical difficulties with the online Zoom conference system that we're so fond of these days. But thank you for joining. Today is September 3rd. We have this is our third meeting this year. A few things to go over, so we'll get started. So for today, what we're going to do is going to go over, well, I guess I'll call the meeting to order. We don't have a live broadcast, actually, so we are recording, and we'll be able to present this on the website, and also I believe we can share it on the Facebook page as well, so people will have access to watch it.
So before you call the order, Marcus, I just wanted to clarify that I'm not sworn in, so I'm here to participate, but not to vote, and I don't count towards the quorum.
We don't have a quorum.
Okay, appreciate that, Bill. Yeah, I think we're a little bit of trouble because we don't have a Dell, so we probably won't be able to vote on anything if we need to, but appreciate the update there. Thank you.
Bill, may I ask you a question, since it doesn't affect the committee? Are you not sworn in because the town wanted you to come down to town hall, or is it something else?
I'm waiting for them to send me remote swearing in information.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, so then next thing we're going to do is we'll do public input. As usual, we'll get, really, since we're not live, it's tricky. So I didn't get any emails for anybody, but if anybody wants to share anything, they can. We'll review, again, who's on the committee. And Bill, thanks for kind of sharing your updates there. And we'll see if there's any other ones. I do have some updates from the DPW that we can walk through. And then we'll go over the project reviews. And then I do want to recap on the health guidelines for the park. And then I know we can't really vote on any necessary topics today because we don't have a quorum, but we can talk about them, and maybe we can do that next time. And we'll set up our meeting dates for the next meeting. So first things first, I know it's a small group, but does anybody have any public input? Jim, I know you had sent me a message that you wanted to talk about some things, so I figured I would open this up to you.
Okay, thank you. Bill and I were out there at the beginning of August, and I was, from what I saw of the large maple and the little leaf linden, I'm very concerned about their health and their very poor condition. And I thought this should be brought to the committee's attention. Now, I did suggest that wood chips be put over the roots.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the town has decided that that is a safety hazard. And
I think what they were saying was that if by putting the wood chips there, it could declare it as a climbing structure within the playground area, which would, I guess, have an impact on the insurance policy with the town and everything. So that's kind of what they shared. I don't know if you could elaborate on what.
Well, I shared this with one of the tree committee. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just saying, if you could elaborate, I think it'd be interesting for us all to understand. You mentioned there you've noticed the health of the tree.
Right. Yeah.
So what, I guess, if you could elaborate a little bit more on that, and then can you attribute it to,
I looked at
stepped on and that sort of thing.
The two trees, the two sugar maples, and they're the same genus, and at this time of year they should be the same color green. Mm-hmm. The large sugar maple is getting yellow. It's what they call coloring up. Mm-hmm. It is prematurely setting fall color. Okay. This is one of the key attributes to tell you that the tree is in trouble. I also looked at the little leaf linden. That is also coloring up early, not as much as the sugar maple, but it's still coloring up. Mm-hmm. And another way to judge the condition of the plant is to look and see how much sky is coming through the canopy. And both the sugar maple and a healthy sugar maple and a healthy little leaf linden should be very dense. And when you do look through the canopies, you can see an awful lot of sky.
So Jim,
So these, yeah.
may I ask you, do you think this is a watering issue, or do you think there's something else going on?
Well, there's a number of issues. One of them is they suffered major damage during construction. You're having a lot of soil compaction because people find the trees very attractive places to sit and do other things. So you got soil compaction, you got root damage, and these are probably the main two things that are affecting these trees. I thought by putting down a layer of wood chips, we could moderate the amount of compaction that was taking place. And it also keeps the soil cooler. And roots, tree roots are very sensitive to high temperatures. So I thought that this would also help. But, you know, I sent a copy of the town's response to one of our tree committee members, and he read it over and pulled out the specifications, the standards that are produced by the federal government for safety around playgrounds. And he couldn't see anything in there that would justify this. I went through it, I couldn't see it. So, you know, are we getting an accurate interpretation of the rules? Or is this something that's maybe being made up for some reason or another? My question is,
I don't know why they'd make it up. It seems silly to me.
well,
Yeah.
you know, we've had some issues in the past.
Okay. Well, I think what's important here is to identify, which I appreciate you kind of calling out really the warning signs that the trees are, you know, damaged and or need help. And the issues are the soil compaction and the root damage. And as Bear mentioned, you know, it could be somewhat attributed to, you know, reduced rainfall, but I think probably the soil compaction and root damage is, you know, more in line with what it is. And so, you know, I'll address this with the DPW and say, you know, what are we going to do to, you know, help save these trees, knowing that this is an issue and these are the causes. So I don't know what they can come up with, but you know, again, if chips aren't the answer and they're saying they can't put them down, we can't lose the trees, right? I think that would be a huge impact to the playground because one, they look great. They provide a lot of shade. You know, so it's not something I think the DPW wants to lose. So I think advising them on the fact that if we don't do something, we may end up losing the trees.
Now, it is possible that if they don't want to make it a play area, as I think they've said, it's possible to use different material or even just plain old wood chips. And they have some very nice colorants out there that are non-toxic that can be used to differentiate between where the tree roots and that material is and the play area. Or you could use bark, or there's a number of other options. But, you know, if you could, it would be really interesting if you could find out what safety specifications they are using.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something homebrew, or are they following the national standards? No?
Yeah, I don't think it's homebrew. It's got to be something to do with the town and the insurance policy that we have in place for the park. But again, I'll go back and get clarification on that. But I think the most important thing is trying to figure out what a solution might be, right? And, you know, I think leaving it alone and ignoring it's not the right solution.
You're definitely going to lose those trees.
Yeah. So we could push it back on them to, again, you know, we're trying to advise them on our ideas on what issues there are at the park that need to be addressed and how they can be addressed. But if they can't address them with our recommendations, then we need to, push back on them to come up with solutions for it.
And I also believe that Steve made the comment that the trees would not be irrigated.
That the trees be irrigated?
Would not be irrigated. No.
Right. Yeah, I believe that's correct.
So another component of questioning here is what will they allow us to do? Should we go back into the mode where we ran hoses out? And I'd be willing to do that carefully, but to help with that. But maybe we need to run hoses out from the fire station ourselves if the DPW is too busy to deal with that. So, Marcus, you might just want to, if you're talking to Steve or somebody, you might just want to probe what they would allow us to do. If you think that's appropriate.
Does anybody have any experience with that? That's in the meeting today, as far as us kind of taking the initiative on our own to do certain things at the park or the playground.
Well, the year before last, we did run hoses for, what was that, 4 times, maybe 5 times. The trees, we tied in at the fire station and ran them over there, and I don't know, took what, half an hour, 45 minutes. I'd have to get permission from the water district because we'd probably want to do outside of normal watering times.
Yeah, I was going to ask, the last time you guys did that, what was the process to be able to do it?
But soil compaction has to be addressed. And I thought that the wood chips would be the simplest, easiest, and cheapest way to do it. But
So to follow up with Marcus' question, Jim, are you set to get permission? Do you agree, first of all, it would be a good idea to take quick action ourselves, at least to help defer damage, and then get permission, and then we'll meet some morning early at sunrise or just before and run the hose out?
well, it certainly wouldn't do any harm, but it's not going to solve the problem either. But let me see if I can get permission from the water district. I think that would be the first step.
Yep.
And then I still have the hose out and back, so it's still here. So,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that'd be great if you guys could do that. If you need help, let me know. I don't live too far away, so if it works out for me time-wise, I'd be happy to hop down there and help.
Well, basically, I think it's a 2 or 3 person job.
Yep.
So
it's like a volunteer thing, and
we'll keep you on the ready list if nothing else.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I will go ahead and see if I can get a hold of the last guy I talked to and renew that permit. Then I'll, if that's successful, then I'll give Barry and you folks, I'll just put the message out and we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. All right. Anything else from the public input side? Bill, did you have anything?
Going back to the question about the standards, meeting standards. If you might consider asking for the company that did the certification that led to the rocks being taken out, to ask the town to provide a response from them about it meeting the standards.
Especially since there has just been publicity about a natural playground with tons of rocks and all sorts of these natural elements elsewhere within the state.
Yeah. Okay. I'll find out. I'll ask him and see. I mean, again, I don't know if it goes back to the town's insurance policy or whatever, or different, have rocks in a playground area, is your insurance go up versus it not being rocks? I don't know. I'm just trying to think about it and how logically it would make sense. But I will, yeah, I can go back to Steve and ask what company they used for assessing if, the rock situation and them being removed. I'm assuming it's probably whatever that was is the same reason why we can't put chips around the trees. So that's a good point, Bill.
I think it's called Playground Medic, and I think it's a playground certificator or something like that.
Certified.
Certifier.
Okay, perfect.
And one other thing is that one other option I would think would be, since putting signs in the rock gardens, the raised gardens, declaring them as landscaping, basically the same thing could be accomplished with a sign on the trees. A small sign on the trees.
I know, and we brought that up.
Please don't climb.
They were pretty clear that we're not putting signs on the trees. So.
Yeah, I suspect that it's more about budget than it is about anything else. The wood chips
I could ask if it's something where we could get the mulch donated. Would it be an issue if we did it ourselves?
I've already brought that up with Steve Callahan.
What did he say?
Well, you got the answer afterwards.
Yeah, same one, right? Yeah.
Right. So I told him that would be an option.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, again, I think I'm going to go back to him and say, look, if you don't want to do a sign, you don't want to do mulch, what are we going to do? Basically, you put it on them. They got to figure it out. And if those ideas don't work for them, we got to figure something out, because again, we keep going at this year over year. I agree with you that the trees aren't going to make it. So, which nobody wants. All right. Anything else on the public input side from anybody? Okay, moving along. Again, just as a quick review of the board members. And I did, is Justin on? Did he make it or no? I don't think he did. He was emailing me earlier about a couple things, which I'll bring up later on, but he's been, again, communicating back and forth with me. So he is interested in being a part of the committee. Was hoping he'd be able to join today. I think he had said he was hoping to be able to join as well. So we'll figure that one out. Maybe he'll be able to join the next one. And
I've tried several times to hook up with Justin and communicate, but I have not been successful.
Yeah,
I've
he's been emailing back and forth with me, so it's great. I mean, he's offered to help out with a few things at the park. So I think he definitely still wants to be involved. I think maybe something came up. I mean, who knows?
Sure.
Everybody's got lives outside of this, so we're all trying to do the best we can.
Yep.
Okay. So here's some updates regarding the questions that came up from the last meeting. So I'll just kind of run through these. I know that there was a question around, hey, what was our COVID, current COVID plan with the park, right? And basically, I know there's the signage that's there, and that's essentially what they're planning on doing, right? There's been no, as far as I know, additional communication around any changes to the strategy around the maintenance for COVID, other than just having the signs up there, so people know they should be wearing masks and social distancing. The porta potties have returned, at least one of them, the handicap one did, the day after it opened. And there is hand sanitizer lotion in there, and that's the only place that they're going to be providing hand sanitizer. I know it was asked if we could have hand sanitizer stations around the playground, but that doesn't seem at this point as something that they're going to supply us with. Justin,
there's one there. Isn't there a hand sanitizer dispenser at the opening?
Is there now?
Yeah, there was some sort of a grant that like a few months ago, I thought a couple months ago, where they is it hand sanitizer or is it sunscreen?
I think it's sunscreen.
Maybe it's sunscreen. Okay,
I think it's sunscreen.
Right.
Yeah, I saw the sunscreen dispenser there. Yeah. I don't believe there's hand sanitizer though.
You're right. My bad.
That's okay. Justin, when he was emailing me, did say though that he, in the business that he's in, would be able to donate some hand sanitizer through a supplier that he has. So he's open to looking into that if we're able to, right? I don't know what the DPW would allow us to do. If this organization was able to put in a kiosk for sunscreen, I don't see why we wouldn't allow Justin to donate a kiosk for hand sanitizer, right? But I'll reach out to Steve and just see if that's something we can do. Because I think that would be, again, a good thing to have there at the park for everybody. Bill?
There is an expense in terms of the town for refill of sanitizer. Is that any issue as to why perhaps DPW doesn't want to deal with it?
That is, yeah, that's kind of what they said to me, was that they're not going to be able to supply and resupply the hand sanitizer on a regular basis. So that's why I'm going to ask them, if we can have one, if we can have a kiosk donated and we can have the hand sanitizer lotion donated, is there a problem with that? And I can't see them having an issue with it. Of course, the question is how often and frequently are we going to be able to update filling it?
Mm-hmm.
That depends on, how often we can get it donated. So, but it's something better than nothing, I guess, is what I'll say, right? So let's see, the list of equipment. I asked them if it was a final list. Bill, thank you. You went through and did a lot of work on putting together the equipment that they did choose, and it is final. And we have more slides to go over that, but I just wanted to, kind of recap that question, just say the equipment's been ordered. There's no more adding really equipment as far as I know. As far as for when the equipment's planned to be installed, they shared back with me that they should be installing it after the fields and the walking trails are done. They've ordered the equipment, so they're going to store the equipment at DPW until the fields and walking trails are complete. Then they're going to install it. And then the maintenance plan is just the same as the playground equipment, and they're going to follow the manufacturer's specs. As far as the safety plan for the exercise equipment, I was told they're going to use signage just like the playground equipment and follow the manufacturer's specs. And then I know in the schematics we saw like a black pad. It's not poured-in-place rubber. It's just a black mat that is ADA compliant, blends in with the chips, and they said it's something new that they want to try out. So we'll see how that works. Now, Bill, I know you had, again, gone through the equipment list. Did you speak with anybody over at DPW? Is there anything different from what I've shared here that you would want to update us on, or is this pretty accurate so far? From what you know?
I haven't spoken with anybody there. I shared with you the stuff that they sent me.
Okay, perfect. All right, just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Okay, let's move on to updates of projects. So this literally hasn't changed since the last meeting because there has been no updates from the DPW on anything. So unfortunately, no dates have changed. Everything, from what I understand, is still delayed. The one thing I did want to call out here, though, is the pond dredging, because Elizabeth, you did bring this up as an opportune time to do this. The water level is so low. So I just wanted to call that out and share that with the DPW. And I don't know if that's something that they're looking at, if they can move up the timetable because it'll be easier for them to do based on the fact that there's no water there.
Yeah, I know years ago that's what they said, that they were hoping for another year that was low to do it because it would make it. So yeah. I'm sorry, did you send information or are you waiting to hear back from them?
I'm waiting to hear back from them on that. So I'll share with you guys once I find out if anything's going to be happening there. But I agree. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for them to do it now. Plus just the fact that it obviously is dried up because it's so shallow, right? I mean, I went out there over the weekend with my daughter and we rode our mountain bikes out into the middle of it.
Right.
Dry. So, which was kind of fun, but a little, unnerving. You know what I mean? Being out
a little
there.
disconcerting.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. So
not good for all of the plants and animals and birds that like to use
that's what my daughter said. She goes, "Well, Dad, what happened to all the frogs?" They tried to find a new home. And unfortunately, there's the other pond that's in the woods. That's all dried up too, and it's all overgrown with grass.
Oh, really? I was going to ask about that. I haven't been back there.
Yeah, all overgrown. Yeah. So, if we can get that done, I think it'd be an opportune time to do it. So we'll see. And then I did take a little picture so you guys can see it in case you guys haven't seen the dried up pond that we have.
So that's where we're putting the new baseball field, right? They cleared it.
I was thinking this is where we're going to have the tractor pole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's flat, long, it would work.
Sounds good.
So that's it is for the updates. Now moving into kind of just the project review. So some of these we have updates on, some of them we don't. I included everything just for consistency purposes. So I think some of the stuff we'll just brush over and some we'll spend more time on. So first, I think it's the most important. We'll go over the exercise equipment because that was a really hot topic on our last meeting. And again, Bill put in a lot of work on putting together some really great information on the individual pieces of equipment. And then also we have an updated map around where the equipment's going to be showing. So Bill, do you want to take these next slides? I'll just move them for you since you put this together.
Are they all the same slides that were in the original presentation?
Nope, these are the new ones that you sent me for the,
Right.
Yep. So the most recent ones that you sent me.
Okay. So this is a page out of the master plan from 2017 that dealt with specifically with the walking trail and exercise circuit. And my understanding is the DPW used this in putting together their order of the exercise equipment. And at the end of this, these slides, we can go back and look and see if what's being proposed is meeting the expectations. Any questions on this page? So next slide then, please. So to the right is the map that Steve provided, and it shows the proposed locations of the 4 different exercise stations. Obviously, they're coded 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and so on. So as you get to the next slide, you'll see that each of these stations kind of have, it looks like they're kind of set up for different functions. One is sort of more of a stretching, low impact kind of a station. 2 are sort of cardio, CrossFit kind of multi-use stations, and then 1 is more of a obstacle course kind of station. That's the 4. And if you go back one slide to the map, you'll see. You'll see 4's down on the bottom, down in the corner there, right, sort of where the T-ball field used to be. So I guess next
it's going to cut into the existing tree line too, right?
Well, so and we can talk more about this later. That squiggly line that sort of tries to show the edge of the forested land is really not surveyed. So that's sort of a best guess. The thing that would be probably most telling as to where the location of the number 4 station would be if all of the trees that have been inventoried were on the map, and unfortunately they're not. So that's one thing we can talk about at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
So I guess next 2 slides. These are the 3D renderings that they gave us. So the first area, Compum has different lines of outdoor exercise equipment. And this particular line is their StayFit, or their sort of their senior-centric exercise equipment. So this first area, which would be the area that would be up in the very front as you exit the parking lot, is all senior-focused. So kind of nice because it's close to the parking lot, so that if seniors do drive up, they don't necessarily have to go too far if they want to get on some of this equipment, but for the most part, it's stretching and balance equipment. Any questions on those?
That's excellent.
So this next one is, and it goes around counterclockwise, I believe, is down towards the end of the playground, and this is sort of a mix of cross training and cardio. You've got that elliptical machine, which was one of the things that was recommended for the master plan, and then that multi-purpose use thing with the hanging handles, and it's got a sign on it that provides sort of instruction on a bunch of different exercises that you can do with that. So it's really a multi-function station. And then that step board is there. It's sort of a do-all step board that people can use.
Oh, it's great.
Then the next slide. So this third area is kind of a combination of different complements different lines. The thing in the middle, the gray and blue thing, is from their StayFit lines. That's kind of a senior centric kind of a thing. That thing on the top is the arm bike. So obviously you sit there and you use your arms to crank a handle. And then that combination thing at the bottom is sort of a chin-up bar, a parallel bar, seated bench. And again, that would be something that a senior would be able to use, although that's not necessarily in their StayFit line, but it's functional for that. And this is also, I think, one of the things the master plan had asked for was parallel bars, and I think this is probably where the parallel bars, sort of the alternate to the parallel bars. So that's number 3. And I think that one is closest to the fire station, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah.
And then number 4, they actually do have, Complement actually does have a obstacle course set of equipment, but this is sort of a custom obstacle course. So it's set up long and horizontally. And with the exception of that arm upright row machine, everything is sort of a thing in motion. So there's the balance beam, there's the steps, there's the wall to climb over, either through the ladder or the board, and then the steps as well, those little jumping pods. And this one is over in the corner by the pond. That's the proposed location of this one.
Yeah, this is the largest, I think, location, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
From it, I'm assuming the scale is correct on the map, and according to the map, it is.
Mm-hmm. No, this is great. I mean, this is probably going to get a lot of use, I'm sure, by the younger kids too.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think the 4 stations offer a good balance of different things, and seems to be pretty well thought out. Could you go
there's
to
a
the
lot of
next,
these steps around. I think each station has these steps in it, right? So I mean, someone could theoretically kind of run from each station and do different step exercises and stuff. So if you wanted to keep it low impact.
Correct, and I'll say this, if I'm not sure about the I think it's number 2, the one that has the hanging straps.
Yep.
But all of them have, so all of these have some sort of wheelchair accessible type functions, I think. And I'm assuming that those straps do as well, because you can do things with your arms or feet in those. Yeah,
so each station has a piece of equipment.
Has at least one thing that would be usable for someone with accessibility needs, issues.
Yeah, you can see that here too.
And they all have at least one of the pads. I guess that's the black pads that they referenced, the new things, which are probably similar to what is in the playground now. Just pads that are put in place with.
How big are those? Are those something you sit on, or are those something that you? What are those black pads used for?
These
Not
right
that.
here?
No, above.
These right here?
Yeah.
They look to be.
Those are
here, so I think
they're called jumping.
The jumping pods.
They're called jumping pods. So the description is in the box. A set of 3 jump pods at a height of that, combining different heights, ranging with very different. So it's part of an obstacle course. So you would walk from one to the other, basically.
Yeah, it looks like the goal is you start here. You got these 2 that you can jump on. Then you get the balance beam. You climb the wall, and then you end up over here on the pods. And you hop over the pods, and then you make it to the exercise equipment. Do some upright rows, turn around, and go back.
I'm getting tired just thinking about that.
I think it's great. I think it's kind of cool. I like it.
So I guess,
Well, too bad with all the gyms closed that we haven't had this pandemic.
so next slide, please.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So the last I talked to him, Steve said that they were expecting the delivery back on July 13th, or at least by that week. So I don't know if it's been received or not. Sounds like he didn't say if it had. And I do know that, and Adele, you were in these meetings as well, that the state required them to purchase them within the FY20 year. So that's what was driving the purchase. So the questions, does the expectations that we defined earlier, does it meet those expectations? It looks like that the pathway is going to be constructed out of crusher fines, as was requested. It is ADA compliant, walking track and pathways. They did not relocate the 6 exercise stations that were in place there, but they just outright removed them, but that was removed because they couldn't maintain them. There weren't replacement parts available. So that was done back when the playground was first raised. We asked the master plan asked to add 4 new stations beneficial for seniors, and specifically asked for parallel bars, mobility balance stations, stretch stations, and elliptical machine. Of those things, they didn't get a parallel bar, but there was that one structure, that one piece of equipment that I pointed out that kind of still had the same functionality. And then there's another one as well at Station 1, and the StayFit machines. Add rubber mats for each station. There's mats there. There was add a 4-foot wide permeable pond shore connector and forest loop paths. Those aren't included in the plan. I don't know if you want to talk to the DPW about including those.
Do you know, can you explain that a little further? What is that exactly?
Yeah.
Pond shore connector and forest loop paths?
So from the area sort of near the skate shack off of the new walking track, the master plan asked for a smaller pathway to connect there over to the rear of the fire station. So it would sort of allow a path from basically from the skate shack to the trail entry and
Like an accessible
kiosk.
path?
A 4-foot wide crusher fine path. And then the forest loop path was a path from the back corner of the field, sort of that Jonathan Lane trail, just inside the wooded forest area, kind of by that big stone that's there back in the back, and then would come out kind of where the path exits to the field now.
So kind of like over here?
So that's where they would exit, and then it followed the on the inside of the wooded area.
Follow this way?
No, towards Jonathan Lane.
Below the 70 trees, the trees in the 70s? Like it would loop
Correct.
around behind them,
Oh,
right?
loop back in here. I gotcha.
No, not that far. It was just right off of the field,
okay.
but still in the woods, so that folks with accessibility issues could still sort of get a feel for the wooded pathway, but not actually getting back into the trail system.
Gotcha. Okay. And you're saying that's not currently on the path plan. So we could I'll ask why.
Correct.
It may be something that was just missed. I don't know.
That path would involve taking down some of the trees behind those that are numbered to the big rock, which is a natural sitting formation, and then back over to the exit just beyond the tree labeled number 79. So while it's a somewhat shallower path, it does involve, the forestry and the digging out of roots and stuff like that to put the crusher path in.
Maybe that's why
It does, and it's somewhat
scrapped it.
redundant as well.
So is it something that we want to push for, or are we okay with it the path being the way that it is.
I think it adds a benefit, but I'm guessing that budgets aren't exactly on the flush side of things, that it's going to be a harder argument.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'll ask the question as to why it was changed. You know, they may have a really good reason for it, which is fine. And I'll let you guys know. And if it's something that the committee decides is really important, then we can bring it up.
And it may be something that the Friends of Robert Field might want to implement later down the line as
Right.
some
It's
sort of
definitely not
upgrade
something
to
that-
the park later.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like something that we couldn't add on. It doesn't have to be part of the, it doesn't look like something that we couldn't do everything else and then create that later and have it not integrate fine.
Sure. Well, yeah, we can figure that out. I'll find out why it was taken out, though, and let you guys know.
Thanks.
Anything else on here, Bill, that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, the plan that they're working from has some of the inventory trees, but not all of them.
Oh, okay.
And I think that there may be an issue with that number 4 exercise station location and some of the inventory trees, but it's difficult to tell because they're not on the map. So I think that we should
Try
try
to
to
see if we could get the tree markings that we have here. I took a note to see if we can get those superimposed onto the map that has the exercise equipment on it.
That would be great.
What to do?
Or maybe the other way around, have the areas that are
Yeah.
planned for the exercise area superimposed on the map we know is the most accurate.
That seems like a good choice.
I would think that it would be most beneficial if whatever map the DPW is working from, that the inventory trees be displayed on there.
Yep.
And then maybe an opportunity to do that also with the modeling I'm doing. When you see what I'm going to present tonight, we may want to include some of these trees and mark them.
And then the other expectation was that wheelchair equipment accessibility at most stations, and like I said before, it looks like all of the stations have wheelchair activities if that suspension trainer has wheelchair activities, which I would expect that it does. It just didn't have any mats underneath it, so that just needs to be clarified.
Hey, Bill, have you actually seen the equipment that came in?
No. I mean, I've seen it on the website.
Yeah, we don't know if it's
actually.
actually been delivered as of yet. We believe it has, but I don't know if it's actually physically seen it.
So we talked about the pond shore and forest loop paths, whether or not they should be included. I personally have concerns about the location of that 4th obstacle course station in that area. One, that's the lowest graded area. We know that area is wet in most cases. So there's definitely a drainage issue there. Without being able to see where the trees are there, I'm concerned that it's going to require them to cut into the forested area too much. It also adds a lot of activity over into more of the natural area and a lot more noise that's going to impact the wildlife in that area as well. So those are my concerns with that area. I think that the area that is directly between the playground and the Jonathan Lane Trail, that area in there is pretty much just a big bittersweet poison ivy reservoir.
Let me go, oh, sorry. Trying to go back to the map here. There you go. So you can see. So you're talking,
Where 2 is?
are you talking about?
So
this
yeah,
one?
below
Yeah.
below where 2 is, so you can see where the all of that area exactly from where your cursor is, and if you move to the left to the property line of the abutter, all of that area, with the exception of, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, with the exception of like 3 trees in that area, everything is pretty much bittersweet and really needs to be cleaned out, because it's going to just choke out the trees that are there, and it's not going to offer any kind of benefit to the park. And I think one of the intents of the master plan was to have that area cleaned out and make it more usable. So you can see how much area is kind of there. I think that 4th one could easily be put in that area. And 2 could actually stay where it is, or you could move 2 over to where 4 is, just don't put it as far over into the corner. Kind of probably closer to where that the leg exercise thing is, arm and leg exercise thing is, or was, where the trail comes out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The arm and...
So go to 4 and then go to the left where the trail comes out.
Oh, right here.
in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
right over here.
there used to be a piece of equipment there that you could do like arm raises and leg raises and stuff.
Right.
So I think that it's be a better function from a drainage standpoint, and also from a less impact on the wildlife in the pond, to have 2 there and have 4 over where the bittersweet's grown out of control. It'll also help some with, there's going to be a lot of activity in that outfield on that baseball field closest to the pond. So I think keeping something like an obstacle course out of that area is actually kind of a benefit to the parents and stuff. They're going to be watching the baseball games and that field.
Bill, before we leave the slide, who drew this map of the field and the paths? You know what, Kim?
DPW, I don't know particularly who. It's the DPW came from Steve.
Yeah, it looks more accurate in certain respects than the DPW map by Howard Stein Hudson on the master plan. I'll explain why I make that comment later. But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, Bill. I mean, I think moving 4 to where 2 is, and then 2 to that middle spot, because I've been over there when that's all flooded. I mean, the one thing I'm curious about is they're putting the ball field right over here.
Yeah.
Always flood. Remember, they had like a small little t-ball field or something over there, and it always was flooded.
Yeah.
They have to. I mean, I was thinking when I was over, like, why don't they dredge the pond, push it all over here, build all this up, build so the grade is higher, because they're going to have to grade this super high to account for the wetlands.
The other thing you'll see in a few minutes, the location of the soccer field is something like, I forgot what it is, it's like 15 feet away from the lot. There's room to move that up. And I think the reason they haven't done that is because of the grade.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a soccer field, right? It's a lacrosse field, or did I miss something?
It's a multi-use field.
Yeah.
Okay.
The lacrosse field, soccer lacrosse field is there's quite a bit of, I'll say, wasted space between the parking lot and where that field begins. And you'll see that. And if that could be moved up even as little as 10 feet, you would gain a lot of, you wouldn't be squeezed as hard up here next to the woods.
I think, weren't there concerns about the lacrosse balls and cars? They were closer.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
There's ways to deal with that too. But anyway, let's just keep the thought, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely curious also about what their plans are to deal with the low grade in the water. So I have that down here as something to ask them. Has it ever come up before? Does anybody recall when this was all put together as the master plan? Because I got to think that
has it ever come up before?
When they were putting the fields over here, they had to have thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a number of times, that there were also questions about, I mean, there's quite a height difference between where the lacrosse field edges are, right? There's quite the grade there.
Well,
So
they're
they-
going to grade all that out. I mean,
Right, so I mean, they're talking about
everything like
grading.
that is all going to be graded and everything. So
Well, be careful when you say that because this ledge under there, as Jim knows well,
I think that's
their
yeah.
ability to grade that, if they can get enough material out of the pond, that can help a lot. And actually, that's a good motivation to dredge the pond now, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get enough material to help with that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll ask them, see what they say. Again, I got to think that they have thought of it and they figured it out. We just don't know. So hopefully. All right. Anything else on the exercise equipment before we move on?
Right now, it looks like that there are, like I said, there's concerns, or at least I have concerns with the impact on the protected trees. But until we see a finalized map with the inventory trees marked on their map, it's difficult to say. But I could characterize it as at least having concerns.
Yeah, I wrote.
I think that there could.
And then I took a note.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying I wrote that down as feedback for the DPW. And I also took a note around your suggestions of swapping the stations around where 4 and 2 is and moving 2 to the kind of the middle there where the trail comes out. And then also asking if we can get an updated, consolidated map, similar to the one that we showed before where the exercise equipment is, but have the trees plotted on there. Or again, to your point, Bill, whatever the DPW is using for whatever map they're using or drawing they're using for phase 2, can we get everything on one? Because we have the trees on this one and then we have the exercise equipment on another one. They have to have one map drawing with both. So I think once we see that, we'll have a better idea of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, quick question. I've lost track. Do we know what time scale we're talking about having them actually do that work? Is that like a year or 2 years out at this point?
I think COVID has thrown all that in the air, hasn't it?
Everything's thrown it off. till
Right.
next year. Yeah.
I guess.
The last time we discussed it, at least I had a conversation with them about it. It was everything was pushed back a year.
Yeah.
So
So they
spring
think that-
is still a goal.
They'd have paths.
That was 6 months
Next
ago,
year?
4 months ago.
I guess the question is, I've lost track. Were they going to have paths this year and now probably next year?
It's next year. Yeah.
No, I meant originally, were they going to have it this year?
Oh, well, were they originally? Yeah, I think
Yes.
originally we were
Originally it was
planning
gonna be
to break
spring.
ground this year. Yeah.
Okay, so
we were
theoretically next year
Yeah.
is likely-ish.
next spring. Yeah. Everything's just still pushed off exactly pretty much a year, from what I understand.
Like 2020 didn't happen.
Right.
Or we wish.
I know.
But we know it's going to be impacted by how quickly the COVID situation gets resolved. And that's still in the air. That could come to an end in a matter of months, and it could drift on for 2 more years. We just don't know.
We'll have to wait and see.
No truer statement.
That's right. We're all on the sidelines for that one. So, all right.
So,
Bill?
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
so the other stations, there's currently, I believe, one mat basically per station. So like there's one roll-up kind of access for one piece of equipment at each one of the 4 stations. I think I could certainly see adding more of those if we could, especially maybe around things like the steps where people are likely to be stepping on and stepping off, those kinds of things. So I think we could try to get more rubber mats added.
So, sorry,
if the budget would allow.
is it EWF where it isn't mats? Or is it grass?
I didn't understand your question.
If there aren't mats there, what's the surfacing underneath? Is it just grass or is it,
Wood chips.
Wood chips.
so it is EWF?
Yep.
Okay.
And then other than the cardio station, that hangar thing, there's not really a lot of signage. So there's, I don't know how much, I wouldn't want to pollute the area with signs, but I think it might be beneficial if we added, or if signs were added that sort of showed different exercises that people could do at each station.
So
Right
you
now,
said
there's only one.
it's only at that one, at like the number 1 station where they show all the exercises you could do at each station?
That's my understanding of based on what I saw, it looks like that there's only one sign at one station.
That doesn't make a
It
lot
could
of
be
sense.
different. if
Yeah,
you-
it doesn't.
We should get clarification on that because I can't believe that they don't have signage that could be provided by the company.
There's also the opportunity to sort of brand the entire thing, the entire circuit, and have each station's use identified in sort of that, whatever that master map would be.
What do you mean by that? By brand each station?
So if you go back to, you don't have to go back, but if you did go back and look at the each individual station, each one sort of fits a different need. So there's kind of the StayFit section, the senior station. There's the cardio, get your heart moving kind of a thing. There's a stretch and balance kind of a thing. So if there was signage that said, you know, welcome to the Roberts Field exercise circuit or whatever it is, it could have a bulleted point list of, you know, this station you'll be able to do this. This station you'll be able to do that, or you know, do these exercises. You know what I mean? Like something that gives sort of some context to how they all work together.
Like a
Are you
guide.
saying something more than just like Compton regular signage, more something from the Roberts Field perspective of the unification of all of them together and how you can use them as
Yes,
a program?
I think it would be most
It's probably
effective
something-
if it were customized for, if it was customized. And I would hope that Compton would be able to provide artwork that could be put into the signs.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, I think, an interesting idea. I can ask them about, I don't know from a budget perspective what they'll come back and say they have availability to do. But I was thinking if they can't do it, it's not anything I wouldn't think that we couldn't do after the fact, right?
And is it something we can have on the website where we have a tab for the park's website that says, you know, these are the machines, these are the areas, and these are the exercises that you can do at each station. And that's something that people can, that we can print out on and laminate cards and hang them somewhere within that area. We can have them to give out at the library. Or people can print them out on their own.
Adele, that's a great idea as a fallback. And you know, there's always most people have their phones, and they can bring it up on their phones and get instructions at each station.
Yeah.
You just have a QR code set up at each
Yeah.
station.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the thing we're all in agreement on is that there should be some sort of signage at each station, kind of explaining how to use the equipment and what exercises you can do, and not just at one station talking about all the equipment. So I'll get clarification from the DPW on, is there going to be signage at each station? If so, what is it going to entail? And then also, Bill, to your point, would the company that supplies the signage and the equipment be able to do some custom signage for us based on?
No, I wouldn't ask them to do the custom signs. It would be easier to ask them if they would provide the artwork, and we could
Provide
have
the
somebody,
artwork. Okay. Yep. And then we could do
have
the
somebody
signage.
create the signs. And I would think also to add sort of a somewhere at the if there's a welcome sign, welcome kiosk, somewhere on there that would be sort of that would identify the whole exercise circuit.
Okay.
And to Adele's point, you could put a PDF together that would be linked to a QR code that would identify the whole thing, and you could do it that way. So that's pretty easy to do. It's very similar to what we've done with the animal tracks and tree tags.
Hey, Bill, I apologize. I got distracted. Who was it that you said might be able to provide the artwork for those?
I would hope Compton would be able to provide any kind of artwork we might need.
The company that for the equipment.
Right.
Right.
They may already have it in-house, so.
That's a good idea. All right. Anything else on the exercise equipment? Anybody else have any questions? All right, awesome. Thanks, Bill, for putting all this together. I know this was a lot of work, so I appreciate you going through and walking us through everything. It's great. I think it looks awesome, and excited to see it in action hopefully next year when we get the paths and everything in place. So, but
Just one other comment. I would say I don't think you included these, but there was an addendum that had just other pieces of equipment that were available.
I do have that on here if you want to show it. It's at the.
We can show it. I just want my point in bringing this up is that I personally didn't see anything that was sort of sorely missing. But at least if anybody wants to take a look at those, that was just sort of a top line selection of some of the stuff they offered.
So what I'll do, I'm going to send this out to everybody afterwards, so it'll have those in the addendum for this. So if you guys want to take a look at them, that's where they are. All right, so moving on here, Adele, I don't know if there's going to be many updates. I do know that my notes from the last meeting were, I think, Bill, we're going to share with Adele a copy of the previous grant that we put together for Lowe's Parks and Community. I think you guys, did you do that? Or I think you guys have that, right?
The Lowe's one has been done on their website. So we didn't have a copy of it. There's a copy of my worksheets of essentially digital scrap paper, but we don't have the original grant on that.
We don't. Okay. Bill, I thought you had a copy of it or something like that.
That was from a different grant.
Different one. Okay. My mistake.
It was the shade grant, and I forgot about that, but I will send it to Adele tomorrow.
Actually, you did send it to me. I've just had a rough couple of months health-wise and haven't gotten to it. I do know that in light of the year of COVID, Lowe's is not doing the parks grant this year. Everything is community grants for dealing with helping people through the quarantine. And I have done nothing in searching for other grants yet.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's going to be a challenge for fundraising over the next 6 to 9 months because of what's going on. I know a lot of businesses, particularly we would get a lot of help from small businesses in the area for donations and things like that. And I know many of them are just trying to stay in business. So I know it's going to be tough, but keep again, I think as a community, we can keep our eyes and ears open and do research when we can. And if we find something that makes sense, either from a grant perspective or, from a donation perspective, then, of course, Adele will share the grant information with you. And then as a committee, just, make us aware of anything that comes up that would allow us to do any fundraising.
One thing I did want to speak to was that on one of the Chelmsford news sites, there was information about an elderly gentleman in Billerica who, as a hobby, he refurbishes benches or picnic tables. I can't remember precisely. I don't think it's a situation where we can expect any donation of funds there. But if we have equipment that requires refurbishment, I think this would be a good synergy to help somebody who does that as their hobby to perhaps allow them to do that without paying for those items for the park.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I did one of the park, the picnic tables. There's still one more that needs to be done. So I've been so busy the last couple months, I haven't been able to get around to it.
You did a great job with it. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It was fun to do. I did it with my daughters. So I told them I'd do it, I said, we got one more, girls. We got to get to it. The weather's getting cooler. Actually, it might be something I can set aside and try to do. But if I can, it'd be great to get some help from somebody. So do you recall the person's name, or I mean, how would we get in touch?
I didn't get that information. I've got to find where, I've got to remember where I put it.
Okay. Well, if you find it and you want to, reach out, or if you want to send it to me, I'm happy to reach out.
I know I did tag Bill in the in that exchange online because he was the one who had the physical information, but that was just when he'd left on vacation and I didn't know it. So
Okay. Just taking a note here. Perfect. All right. Anything else from anybody on grants? All
Not
right.
on grants. I just saw the group chat. Did anyone else see, Adele? I just saw what you wrote to everyone on the group chat.
there were comments of the conversation happening at that particular time.
Okay. I just didn't know what the well reference was, I guess.
We were talking about the trees, and I know that there had been some back and forth at one point about whether DPW was actually going to put irrigation lines for certain things into the playground. I couldn't quite remember that.
Yeah, they definitely. So the irrigation lines for the playground, I think, were for the
gardens.
And the
right?
gardens. Yeah.
Right. So what about irrigation lines for the trees?
Yeah.
Within
And then we
that,
discussed it. They decided they were not going to put irrigation lines in for the trees, and it was only for the gardens.
That's too
right.
bad.
So
Yeah.
something to push back on there, or
Question.
explore whether, and I don't know what the water table is there, given the presence of ledge and everything else, but whether it would make sense to, and whether it's affordable to dig another well just for the playground area, rather than trying to run lines over, and then it would be water within the control of Friends of Roberts Field. And instead of drawing water from the fire station, whether we would have access to well water then for whatever the park needs.
Well,
They
you
were
know,
going to drill a well for the entire, like for Roberts Field,
No, this would be a separate well just for
Friendship
the
Park.
playground.
But the current
Yeah.
well that they dug, isn't that, and I think they just completed it, if I remember from your notes, isn't that for strictly for the playground? The garden in the playground?
I don't think the well was only for the playground.
No, the well was primarily for the ball field
For
irrigation.
everything. Yeah, it was for everything. I'm pretty sure. I'll ask. I'll go back and
Oh,
ask.
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was for the ball fields because they cared about keeping the grass green, and we kind of begged them to add enough that we could put it onto the garden.
And I have no idea how much it costs to have a well dug and to maintain it, and what would be required in terms of the town, in terms of water quality tests, and whether it doesn't matter because it's not potable or not being used for potable purposes or what.
irrigation wells are expensive.
Yeah, they're not
That's
cheap.
the main portion of their budget. But they're going to have to run lines over because the lacrosse field is going to be there. They've got to irrigate it. And adding an extension onto that to cover the playground is not a big cost. Yeah.
They're also going to add a spigot over in Pollinator Park. So just so you're aware of that.
Actually, that brings up a good point. I mean, when they run the irrigation for the gardens in the park, are they going to have a spigot? Like, something we hook a hose up to?
Well, that's what he just said, that there's gonna be a spigot in the pollinator park, which I hadn't remembered hearing before.
No, that's the first I've heard of it also. And if we could get some parity there with just a spigot somewhere.
Parks on the other side of the field.
If we have a,
If they're going to
we
put it
have
in
a
pollinator
spigot-
park, that's great, but we need one over in the playground. We can get
Right, but if they have water lines going over for the gardens,
Mhm.
putting in a splitter with a spigot somewhere
Isn't-
over there
Yeah,
doesn't
Isn't there-
seem to be a huge.
isn't
And
there a
then we would
concern-
have ways of watering the trees and
right.
whatever
yeah,
else we
That's,
need to
yeah,
do.
why not?
I guess I'm questioning whether or not we're gonna need, if we have that signage or something, if the concern was we couldn't put a water fountain in the park because of risks of the lines not being used regularly enough, or water pressure, or whatever that was. I'm assuming that if we put a spigot there, we need to make sure that people don't try to fill their water bottles out of it, if we're concerned about potability.
I'm sure they have some sort of lock they could put on it or something, so nobody can.
Yeah, and that could just, they may
Yeah.
have to turn that off at another location.
Something.
They may have, you can have a ground valve
Yeah.
elsewhere to shut that up, because they probably won't have enough pressure to feed water to all places it's needed simultaneously. So they're going to have to selectively feed one area and then feed another area, I would think.
They will have zones.
Yeah.
Part of the system
so.
will turn on, run for a while, and then another
Yep.
system. And you can just, they have they're basically what they call in-ground valve blocks that are lockable.
Yep.
And gives Sandy the key, and she opens it up, and there's the spigot inside. And, somebody wants to break into a lockbox to drink questionable water. Well,
Right.
No,
I don't think so.
There's
No,
several levels down to
I'll
this.
ask them though. I will ask if they're planning to add a spigot over by the.
Marcus, this isn't an ask thing. This is a push for parity.
I'm just saying if they're not going to, right, then.
if you remember
Yeah,
last,
basically, I'll say we need one. If you're, are you planning to add one? If not, we need to get one added.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
if you remember last meeting, I suggested you get a copy of the irrigation plan.
They don't want to share it, do they?
Yeah, I have not gotten that yet. Just candidly.
There
Yeah,
is,
that would be disappointing.
freedom of information.
Yeah.
I know they want to
Ask
play
for it.
close to their vest.
I don't
But
think
you're
he
gonna
can
be the
create
users.
an irrigation plan until he has a well dug and he can define what the yield's going to be. So I think it's a matter of a chicken or the egg. So I think that's going to come after the well's yield is determined.
Yeah, they have to check and see how much flow they can get out of it.
I'll throw it on there again and ask and say, hey, when it's ready, can we see a copy of it? That's fine.
Because it's a lot easier to make changes on a plan than it is once it's done.
Right. Yep. Okay, so moving on. I know last time we talked about the survey questions, and we made some changes. So thank you, Bill, for updating that, sending out the link. I just wanted to share with you all, this is the updated survey with the changes that we made highlighted in yellow. For question 1, this is, again, there were pretty small changes. Question 2, we added exercise machines, picnicking and biking, removed a couple other things that we thought were redundant. Question 4, there were a couple things removed that were redundant, and then we added Friendship Park on question 5. So at this point, this is what we had discussed and decided upon using at the last meeting. These are the changes. I guess at this point, are we good to move forward with using these survey questions to run the survey?
Everything looks good except double check spelling of picnicking. It didn't look right to me, but I don't want to mess with my computer.
Oh, this one? Oh. Okay. Yeah, we'll run some spell check through it and make sure it's good. All right, so we're all in agreement on the questions? All right.
I can't vote because I didn't get.
I know, well, that's why I
sworn
didn't,
in
that's why I didn't
properly.
put it to a vote. I just said, are we
Oh.
all in agreement?
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Casually agreeing that this.
Yes, absolutely, more than
Without
casually.
objection.
Right, there you go. You got it.
So when do you want the survey to be in the market, and for how long?
Yeah, because I have a component to do on that, and that is to locate the, the various towns and their news Facebook groups to
Right.
try to put that out. And I put that on hold to do the other work, but I can switch over and get going on that if we decide.
Yeah, and
we
I
wanna
need to
do
get
that
the
sooner.
parenting groups.
So I guess, so Bill,
Well,
it's a good question. I mean, how urgent do we feel getting this survey out is, right? Because
well,
coming up
yeah,
on
one
the
of-
fall and winter season, the park's going to get used less and less once we hit, November. So it's almost, do we want to get it out before then, or do we want?
I'm going to recommend not, and I think we talked about this before. Given the pandemic, we're not getting the usage right now of the park that we normally have gotten in the past. We don't want the surveys to reflect underutilization. That's going to really shoot us in the foot. So I don't know. I guess it depends on.
And then I guess it relates to timing of the submitting this information for grants, Adele. Is there an issue with that, with waiting till?
My thought would be on this, and we're twofold. One is that using a specific survey right now when park usage is so low is counterproductive, and it isn't particularly going to be informative in any way that will help us with our goal for next spring, which is lobbying the ecological committee to give us some money out of the bond fund. Right now, it might be worth it to do a casual question of on these sites of, have you gone to Roberts Field and Friendship Park, and can you provide some feedback about your experience? If we want to do a test set with these questions, just to see whether there are people traveling now to the park with a sign up at the park saying, please visit our website and take our survey. Just so we can find
If
out.
the results come back not fantastic, I mean, there are results. I mean, we can choose to use them or not, right?
Exactly.
So it's not, I don't really think there's anything negative that would come out of running a survey right now, right? And we might not get the results, but at least we would know, right? And then we could potentially.
Just to clarify, the town is going to post this on their website, and they're going to host it and then provide the responses. The other option would be to spend money with SurveyMonkey and do it ourselves, but the cost of that has gotten higher than it was the last time the survey was done. So I don't think we have an opportunity to do really more than one survey with the town. And I don't know how useful it would be anyway. And I also wanted to say that I think we had talked about trying to not only do this online, but also to have people survey people directly at the playground.
We did.
And I don't know that we want to do that until we're in whatever stage of restrictions would allow that safely.
So
Okay.
Adele's point, or just to add to it, yeah, you've got the component of not getting great results from the survey because of the pandemic, but you've also got the situation where the funding isn't going to be as strong because of the pandemic. So you got two components of that.
So
I
and
think that
the town was going to be the one that was going to kind of take the information and provide it to us. And if we can only run one survey, then we want to make sure it counts, right? So I was thinking that it didn't matter. We could kind of run a soft, do a soft, dry run like in October and just see how it goes, and then another one in the spring. But if we can only get one shot at this with the town, I think you have a good point that we don't want to waste it.
No, we can't do that. And irrespective of when we do this survey, we still have to do a lobbying effort next spring,
Right.
because the decision is made every May.
Right.
Talking about the state?
Yes, it's the $500,000 state grant that we have a 50% shot at.
Yeah.
Well, here's something we could do. So Bill, you mentioned that the town's going to take the responses and kind of put it together. Is there a time frame by which the survey could be active and the town would take the responses? Is it like a 2-week time frame, or 2 months?
I haven't discussed any kind of limits with them, but I don't think that there would be. I don't think there are.
Is there any harm in us at this point, at least throwing the survey up, having it be public and available, and we can take our time with how much we want to promote it, but at least it's there and people can respond to it if they want. If we put it up on Facebook and let people know about it, if it's on the town website, people know about it. And then when the time comes when we really want to promote it heavily because we want to see a big response, then we can make the effort to do so. But at least the work of actually just getting it there is done.
There is another, I hate to be a naysayer, but there's another element here. And that is you don't want to survey people out. In other words, you put up a survey, they come forth, they make the effort. Well, then they see the survey come out again in 6 months or another year. They say, I'm getting tired of this. And so it's going to be important that we get enthusiastic responses from people.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Is this going to be a timed survey that we say, okay, we're going to push this out to a large audience over a short period of time? Or is this something that we just want to have available all the time and say, hey, give us your feedback?
I guess the question is, if you have it out over time, are you going to end up counting people twice? Are you going to end up counting people now who are excited to do the survey, who are using the park differently than they would use it when things are different?
Well, that's the part of having a survey available over an extended period of time is you measure the results in blocks, right? So let's say we were going to have the survey available, and if we do this, we might want to adjust it a little bit. I don't know, but let's say we want to have the survey available, for a year, right? And then we would look at it over 3 months and say, okay, well, what were the results over the last 3 months? How many people filled it out? What were the answers? All that, and then go out another 6 months. Okay, then we look back 3 months again before, compare the 2 quarters and say, okay, well, were the results different? Did more people fill out the survey? Were the answers different? And then if we do a big marketing push or whatever and try to get people to take the survey, then we should see a huge increase in people, completing it, right? I don't think
that all makes sense to me, unless we don't. I mean, it sounds like someone else is running the survey for us, and if they only want to collect the data once, we may be hamstrung.
That's exactly right. That's the big difference. If the town is only willing to, work with us on a time limit and say, okay, guys, we'll collect the data for you over a month period, but that's it, then then that won't work. But
if they collect it over a 6-month period, but they can't give us chunks, they can only give us the total.
Well, we should be able to see the date somebody submitted it. I got to think that.
So Marcus, I will email you Ted's it's Ted. I can't think of Ted's last name, but he's the IT guy. I'll email you his contact information, and you can ask him directly.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we just want to keep a close focus on what we're going to do with the data, because I think in the end, what we want to do with any survey information, I'm assuming, is use it to try to go for grant money.
I mean, we use it for what we want, right? We can use it for grants. We can use it for trying to, improve things in the park. We can use it to validate the work that we're doing and get more money from the town and support. And there's a lot of different things that we can use the survey for. And that's where I'm trying to think of, if it's something where it's, a regular survey for people who are using the park and the questions are always saying the same, then you're not over surveying people, because somebody who already took the survey is not going to take it again, right? If you're changing the questions and you're sending out new surveys every 3 months or 6 months with new questions and asking people for additional input, that's when you can run into over surveying issues. And people are like, look, I've already told you guys, this, I'm not on another survey, right? I guess it just depends on what our strategy is and what we want to do. I just don't know if with everything that you guys have going on and we have going on, do we have the bandwidth, and is there, I guess, the resources for someone to devote to a big, huge campaign push to try to get a lot of people to fill out a survey? And it doesn't sound like right now is the right time to do it anyway. So we do one of two things. We either push the entire idea of the survey out until the spring, right? And maybe even late spring when people are starting to use the park again. After about, maybe we do it in, April, May timeframe, after people have started to use the park. And we do a big push to do it just once over a short period of time and see what we get. Or we release it out there soft, and we just kind of don't market it or push it really hard. We just see what kind of results we get and feedback. Either one is fine. It's just deciding what
I think we can't make any real determination of what we want until we know what the town is willing to do for us.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that.
So
yeah.
Let's just, table this discussion until we have those answers.
Yep. That is a good idea, Del. So Bill, send me the contact information. I'll reach out to them. I'll get some answers, what they can and can't do, and then we can discuss it at the next meeting. Okay. So picnic pavilion benches, no real updates here. Again, I just wanted to kind of have this here to be consistent and show what projects are still out there, but this is definitely still delayed due to delays with DPW and everything like that. Bathroom enclosure, I know we talked about this being a project for the Boy Scouts or potentially Girl Scouts. I know the Girl Scouts can't do it. We talked about that last time. Elizabeth, you were going to speak to someone in the Boy Scouts. Did you?
I have not gotten to that yet. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just give it a shot and see if you can hear anything, get anything.
It is unfortunately quite far down the list of things on my plate right now, but it is on my list.
Okay, no problem. And if anybody else, is hears about anybody interested in this type of as a project, then obviously, of course, let us know. The hardscape area we talked about, that is going to be tentative for a while. The upper and lower parking deck, I think the most pressing thing we talked about here was the signage, right?
Well, can you before you go on, can you back up to that picture? I know,
sure. This one?
Yeah, it's just previous. I noticed that the town had recommended or on the master plan that the guardrails be painted white. And when I'm looking at this picture, I'd kind of like to see them natural wood. I don't know if you guys care about that,
Yeah.
but I think
I haven't heard that. Why would they paint them white?
I don't know why
A lot
they're.
of extra work.
What's that?
So that seems like a lot of extra work.
It's what it's saying on the master plan.
Does anybody recall why they, was that something that?
I don't recall. I don't recall any discussion about it. It's just that when if you take a close look at the master plan, which has got a lot of details that probably none of us have read, I noticed that detail when I was doing the modeling, and it painted white. I said, really? So something to think about.
I don't recall our discussion on that at all. Bill,
I
do
don't
you
recall.
remember that?
I don't recall we ever discussed it, but if the
No, I'm
DPW
thinking back to master plan time.
I'll show it to you in a few minutes where it's on the master plan. It's on the DPW engineering drawing of the field layout.
Okay, I don't recall the committee ever discussing that when we
I
were
don't-
doing the initial renovation committee.
Yeah,
I don't
you
either,
guys
Adele.
discussing it either.
It was discussed. I don't know. I seem to remember that it was something that I don't remember the why, but I do remember it being discussed.
Yeah, it does say it right here, stained white wood. Yeah, I'll ask. I'll put it on my list of questions to the DPW, and I think, are we all in agreement that we'd rather it not be painted? I mean, I agree with
I
that.
agree.
We would, unless there is a safety matter for reflectivity, for it to, reflect headlights.
Well, if that were the case, then the fence we're looking at right here, which is also in a town park, would have the same issue.
Right.
Yeah.
This park is supposed to be shut down at night. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
I don't think that's an issue. I don't know why they would do white. I mean, the wood has to be stained, of course, but it should be I think it should be a natural stain, not a white stain.
And sometimes on these things, you'll get something that was orphaned in from something else. Somebody's cut and paste.
Yeah, that could. I don't know. I'll ask them and see, and then I think again, I'll share that our recommendation is to leave them natural. So, okay. Where was I? The signage. So this sign right here, the Roberts Field sign. I know we talked about that. Of course, the park welcome area. And I know Barry, you're going to show us some 3D models that you put together around that. But just a quick question around the actual Roberts Field sign itself. I think Bill, were you doing some work on that? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I will design it, but I haven't done it.
Okay, so you okay.
And I apologize. It's one of the few things I haven't, or one of the many things that I have not actually modeled. And I was going to, one of the next things to put up on the model was that sign.
Okay, that's all right.
Barry, I don't think you've done enough. I'm so disappointed.
I think Barry's done plenty.
Seriously, thank you obviously for what you have modeled and everything. It's appreciated.
So speaking of Barry, so I got these screenshots. Obviously, you said you were going to show something live.
I'd like to do a screen share if you can let me do that, or if I can do it.
Absolutely will. Let me see if I can give you control. I'm going to make you the host now.
Sounds good. Now I've got to minimize this.
There you go.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to make sure that I'm up and running. Okay, good. So share screen.
Stop sharing so that you can share.
Good. Okay, can you guys all see this now? This is the Howard Stern Hudson.
Yep.
Howard Stein Hudson drawing that was done.
I can see it. Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So you might think this is a PowerPoint. It's actually not. We're into the model. I've integrated this, and one of the things that makes this interesting, and it gets to be very important in a little bit, but if you see that says 330 feet.
Yes.
So I can now take the model's tape and tape measure, electronic tape measure, if it was properly working for me. Hang on, Zoom may have messed me up here. Yes, seems to be. Seems that I have been undone here a little bit. So give me just a second to try to get this stuff back.
Sorry, I hate it when technology works against each other.
Well, it's
Always with an audience.
Yes.
yeah. This was all good.
No one's immune to it, Barry. No one's immune.
Yeah, that's true. This stuff was all working fine. Okay, good. Looks like we're making some progress.
There we go.
Are you seeing me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is not behaving, so I'm going to keep moving, and maybe it will. I can hear my computer really spinning here. So Zoom is doing something to the tool.
Right. Your computer's probably just working too hard. Your graphics card's probably just working too hard.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. What I might have to do is I'm going to relaunch this because it's clearly not behaving.
Makes sense.
Just give me a moment.
Apologies, but I'm going to have to bow out at this point.
Okay.
Sorry.
Adele, you've got an email from me that's got a link, and it's going to take you through pretty much what I'm showing people here.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. And look forward to seeing minutes at some point.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Adele. Appreciate it.
So the point is here, and it's still not going to let me do it, is that on this drawing, I can actually do measurements, and that becomes fairly important in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of ratios.
Oh boy, this is frustrating. This has got me totally locked up. What's wrong? Gee. Yeah, the computer is definitely working. So what we've got here is what you were just saying before. This is actually Google Earth. And I took the Google Earth image and then I cleaned it up in Photoshop so that I could start laying down the models.
Hey, Barry, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, I don't think you're sharing anymore.
The windows of people's faces. So if you could, I don't think you're sharing anymore. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, now I see it.
Let me see if I can navigate now.
Very nice.
Okay, can you see this? That we're back up to the
Yeah.
Howard Stern Hudson drawing, and now we got the initial Google map. Okay, so this was what I want to do is first of all, there's a lot to be done still on this, and it's been a huge learning curve. I've got over probably 200 to 250 hours just learning how to do this stuff. So I'm actually finally getting to the point where I'm getting momentum in doing the work. But here we now take that same map and start to lay down the models. And I'm gonna zoom you down to the soccer cross field. Incidentally, there's going to be a lot of stuff you see on here that you probably won't like. At least I hope you're going to be making comments. Make comments as we go along, but some of these things may end up in discussion. So I'd like to get just through the general show and tell, and then we can start diving into some of these things as to what we want to see.
Okay.
So at this point, we'll turn around and take a look at the, here's the shack, the covered bridge. I've added a tree here, and I'll explain why in a moment. But let's keep on going, coming down here. The covered bridge is a true CAD model. It's dimensioned exactly from the covered bridge that's now going into Friendship Park. And I've got to get over to the park and take some measurements, but from looking at this, it looks like this is a 12-foot length of the bridge. I think we're going to need to go more like 14 if we decide to do something like this to go into the park.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take you up to the garden and the sign rock. We talked about a rock with a Roberts Field sign on it, maybe a garden. I combined the two. We can have discussions about what we want to do with this. So let Sandy Rainey take this over and decide what she wants to do. But I combine these just to give us a starting point. So we wanted to have an enclosure for the toilets, and right here I took some real liberties. I sort of designed a structure from, the picture Bill had. I wanted something that was cosmetically decent, especially for the abutters like Dave and Amanda, I think their name is. So I've got a little bit of woodwork lattice along the top.
Is that looks like a changing table there too, right? Is that
Well, it's not necessarily a changing table. It could be. And I think it'd be nicer to have it outside than inside. But my thinking here was that a mother with young kids that wants to come over and keep an eye out for them would probably like to have a place under the roof to sit and get out of the sun.
Definitely. No, I thought this looked great.
So
I think I think if there's a table there, like if it is a changing table, having it underneath is good because if it's raining or whatever, I don't know,
I support that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You like that? Okay, good.
Yeah,
I was wondering if I was going to get it. I was showing this to my
I
wife,
was
and
very
she's
excited when I saw it.
What's that?
I said I was very excited when I saw it. I'm happy to, well, no one cares, but I'm happy to say that I will no longer have to use it, but with my children, I'm very excited for other mothers and fathers.
Well, one of the concerns, I didn't have these walls here up originally. And the concern is who wants to really sit there on a seat and just listen to all the noises from the porta potties. Because if it's your own kids, whatever.
I think anybody who's sitting there, Barry, is going to be waiting for somebody coming in or going out.
Yeah,
it's going to be a leisure spot. You know what I mean?
It will be clean. I think it would be cleaner that way, though. The question is whether or not the people who move the porta potties are going to have any problems getting things in and out if it's a built-in at all. But I like the idea of having a barrier because you know that those porta potties are being moved by things that are not, That way people are sitting there not leaning against that side of the porta potty.
The only thing I'm curious about is the ventilation. Because I know those vent pipes go up through the top of the porta potties, and if we have everything covered, how are the porta potties going to be ventilated out?
Well, what I've shown here, as you can see, looking up, that there is it's just some open area above. This would be kind of like the covered bridge type of structure where you'd have air above it. This is a model that came right out of the library from the tool. And seems to be dimensioned correctly. I was looking it up on the web. I've done a lot of numbers checking. But, there's your vents right there.
But I thought the vent for the porta potties was a tube that went up the top.
It might be. And
I'm just wondering if it vents up into that cavity there, is it going to, is it going to smell? Or do we need to have some sort of ventilation in the roof?
Possibly. Now, keep something in mind. This is not an engineering drawing.
Oh, no, not picking on you. I'm just thinking of ideas.
Oh, no. But the idea is this is strictly conceptual. I'm trying to make it look as realistic as possible. But when push comes to shove and we take a look at the specific porta potties that we're going to use, then whoever builds this kind of a structure is going to have to.
And I think that's what's so great about what you put here is it helps us to visualize it and then come up with ideas that we never would have thought about before had we not been able to visualize it.
And it helps us share ideas outside of this group easily.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to spawn a lot of conversation. Incidentally, I'll swing around to the backside. This is the current parking lot, and it's interesting how I've been able to use the Google Earth image to show this.
Yeah.
But the DPW, you're going to see in a minute, actually has extended this lot to come out to about where the porta potty is. In fact, if I go back, quickly show you that.
You're saying they plan to extend it, or their Hudson Stein thing extends it based on where it is?
It has been, maybe if this thing will let me go back for some reason, it's not giving me. Boy, talk about technology just abandoning you. You don't know what's going on here. So, yeah, for some reason it won't allow me to get back to the engineering drawing that I showed you in the beginning.
I mean, it's working so hard doing your Zoom and your.
No, it's not that. It's just the menu choices aren't there, and I don't know why. Yeah, this is a brand new computer I just got, and it's pretty high end for all the work that I've been doing. So it's got plenty of horsepower. It's not a computer problem. It's an interaction between Zoom and the CAD software. So here's another look at the fields and how they might look. And it is interesting when you look over there. These are pretty closely positioned compared to the town drawing.
And I guess the dimensions of the baseball fields you're saying are pretty accurate based on the drawing that was shared.
Yes, in fact, this is what was not working before, and it should be able to work. But I can come down here, like that's 254 feet, and if you look at the town drawing on that, this, for example, is 330 feet. So you can see we can go around here at different views and actually take measurements and start saying, well, how much room have we got here? And this gets back to my comment earlier about, well, how much distance? Well, that's almost 50 feet. Say 35 feet.
Walking track go between the field and the firehouse? I mean, the shed or whatever the utility building is. Or
You cut out a little bit on my computer. What were you asking me?
when the walking track is in, where does the whole round walking track go over by the pond side?
Well, this is going to come over here and come between the field and wean its way down here behind the ball field. So you're going to have a track coming right around here. And I wish I could take you back to show you the other picture now. And I'll play with
just looking. Some of the areas look quite tight, like over by the top right corner where the park is right next to the ball field. I'm just trying to image it. Is it just weaving its way through there?
Are you looking at this?
Yeah.
It's very tight. It's extremely tight. And matter of fact, the town DPW drawing has the track directly against this fence.
Oh.
My cursor is. Comes right down here, completely ignoring the whole idea of the
Well, they'll have to fix
the covered bridge.
Because the covered bridge ain't moving.
Not only that, their length of the park is wrong.
Hey.
That's what I was kind of hoping to show you guys that. Let me keep going and come back because I really would like to show you that. So the kiosk I've got shown in two places. We may want to have it here. And this is something you guys can decide. So I've got it here, and this is modeled directly after the one that's in the Friendship Park right now.
Yep.
Incidentally, one of the things that's made this fun, as you guys know, I like photography. A lot of these models, I actually I use the photographs from photographing the image. This is not just a model of the wood. This is the actual wood of the current kiosk.
I was going to say it. I was wondering how those models were formed because they look like photo. Yes. So
yeah,
very, very cool.
So this one on the front, that was grabbed. I just went to Google, and I looked up a kiosk and I said, okay, here's a kiosk and it's got a bunch of junk all over the front of it. So I just took an image from that and used it to place on this guy.
it's cool to see where the field is in relation to the parking lot and everything too. So based on the drawing, that's
If
the
you could
accurate.
move, if we could move this whole field over, it would be really nice. I mean, we could gain ourselves, 30 feet. And 30 feet could, 30 feet could buy us quite a bit when you come over in this area.
I thought there were very specific discussions about where it had to be. Am I misremembering?
Oh, in terms of this, no. No and yes. The one thing that I would love to bring up right now, and I can't get to it, is, here we go. Got it. Let's go back to the initial DPW drawing.
Yeah. So
See how they've placed that down there? This is the same distance. So mine is the same distance as what they've got. I've got mine about 45 feet.
now
Here's-
at the back
here's
of the.
something-
Oh, sorry. I was going to say the back of the baseball fields to the parking lot. Is that exactly the same distance?
Well, yeah, that of the baseball field, pretty much.
Because I'm
In
trying to
fact,
figure out. Because I remember when we were back there putting the tags on the trees.
Yep.
I thought one of you had mentioned that the baseball fields were going to go back into the tree line, and we were going to have to take like trees down.
You are over on the lower left-hand corner.
Right.
Those
So,
trees.
but in your rendering, Barry, the baseball field is outside of the current tree line, where I think the new plan is going to have it inside the current tree line, I believe.
Yeah. So we're looking now at the DPW drawing, right?
Yeah. So where's the?
And now, if we, so this is my model. The places are the same. But what you're saying is they want to put it back.
They want, yeah. The fields are, the baseball diamonds are further closer into the woods.
I don't believe so.
That's why I was asking you the distance between
Because you've got the
there
path
and the
coming
parking
down.
lot.
You've got the path coming down through here. And the distance from here to, well, just 474. So if
So
we
what is it
come
on the
over,
drawing?
so if we come over here, let this settle.
Assuming this is
We
out.
come down here. What did I just measure before? Oh, I was measuring this distance here, I think. Wait a minute. Hang on.
Yeah, go from there. I don't think it picked up.
There we go. 466. So
Go.
476, 474. So it's the same exact.
Huh.
471. I mean, obviously, but
Give or take a little bit, yeah.
yeah, I'm within a couple of feet. But here's something pretty interesting. Take a look at this distance on the DPW drawing. You go from here. Now, this is the current. They're going to extend this out. So where I've got the cursor is going to be extended to get more parking places. But look at that. That's 69 feet, right?
Yeah.
Just waiting for the model to settle. Come down here and look at this. This is the old. But take a look at this distance. 114 feet. It's a huge difference. They have now, before you panic, the good news is the distance between here and the end of the field matches. So what's different in the town's drawing is that they've got the playground much longer than mine. Their playground actually extends right up into this area right about here.
Was that the original? Was it supposed to go out that far and then it was changed, or?
I don't know.
Or did they just
I don't
screw
know.
up?
It's very. I don't know whether it was a screw up or whether it was actually the original. But if you could just eyeball this distance right across here
Yeah.
and then go back to the original, it's quite different. So anyway, I thought I'd just bring that up. We can talk about the ramifications of that. Let's go back to the back side of the toilet. See if I can. So I threw in a tree because I thought it would be really neat over here in the middle of the coming up here. That's awfully vacant. But if we could convince, I know the police don't want a tree there. They don't want any more blockage to the park, but we might be able to convince them. Hang on 1 second here. Might be able to convince them because it would be a wonderful spot to put a security camera. You could put a camera in the tree. You could put a camera up into the tree and aim it at the toilets, and that would be a really nice.
Yeah.
So so here's just the upper lot, and I do have to redo these this whole upper lot now based upon the plan to bring it up. These I just went out and took some measurements, and I don't know if I've even got the right number of spaces, but so that's a to-do along with the sign. By the way, and thank you, Jim, for giving me numbers. One of the things I was able to do is incorporate elevation data here. So if you noticed, when I take this, you can actually see the height difference between the upper and the lower parking lot and the steps going.
Oh, yeah.
So it actually helps to kind of visualize things. Now, this part here, I don't think I've got accurate enough to really count on. But this is probably the steepest slope that we've got in this area. And that may be why the original plan calls for this field not to come up closer. Because when I first drew this, I drew this field right up against here.
Yeah, the further up they make the field to the parking lot, the more fill they're going to have to put in there. Level it out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's just run along and give you some other pictures. I put a fence around here. I don't think we ever discussed that, but if there was an issue with things hitting the cars and so forth, a fence like this could be a nice thing. And this might actually be enough to provide protection to the park itself. I don't know. But it's an option, and I kind of like it. But
there is the plan is that there's a backstop fence that would go up. It's similar to the one that's at the McCarthy Field.
So I think
around in the back of the plan is that there's a backstop fence. It'll be similar to the one that's at McCarthy's rubber field.
Okay, all right. So maybe I'll just.
I was gonna see if you could take a picture of that and then throw it in there. I don't know how easy that is, but
it's actually quite easy.
You kind of need to see that.
So that's a McCarthy. That's good to know. I'll go out and grab a shot. Anyway, let's keep going. I did want to show you, it's not a very interesting view, but here we are at Friendship Park, and there's a question about visibility. If we decide to have the kiosk here, so I've given you sort of something to think about, whether we want the kiosk here or at the other location. But if it is here, it acts as a bit of a block to the toilets. And I know that parents want to generally keep an eye on their kids. When I had this field originally up closer to the parking lot, it was a much bigger issue because this fence was blocking it. So visibility is one of the things we can take a look at and consider. Okay, finally, I'll just take you down. Nothing too specific here. This is the kind of the backside. And again, the covered bridge. And that's all the, the scenes that I created. And incidentally, you all have an email right now from me with a link to a YouTube video. It's unpublished, but it's a link that takes you through all the scenes that I just showed you tonight. So if you want to study it and look at it and think about it, show it to somebody.
I think it's great. Is there any issue with sharing that or having a link to that video on the website or anything like that? So people in the public, if they wanted to kind of see what we've been working on or what what ideas we have for the park. I just think visually it's awesome.
I
did
think
some limited modeling myself before. I can't tell you how much I appreciate how much effort went into this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think on one hand, I think it would be an asset to show people what we're up to and where we're going. I want to make sure we're not in any important disagreement. So probably be a good thing for me to update the model on a couple things. If you want, I can take out the chain link fence and put in the backstop.
Yep.
Yeah, I could do that. I thought you guys might push back on the toilets a lot.
I
But
love
you,
it.
No, I
mean,
like
as
it.
much as I love a toilet, porta potty toilet,
Yeah.
I love it.
are we going to have 2 porta potties?
I believe so. That's the plan. Yeah.
And a question came up as to whether porta potties, as to whether the ADA compliant one should be at the end. I mean, I've designed this with the wider opening in the middle. I don't see a reason for this, but the question came up. So this is balanced the way it is here. The distance, this is the wider distance here, and then these are the same.
I love things symmetrical, so I like it the way it is.
Yeah.
I think it looks good. I
Yeah.
also think that it's likely that this is not what the final design is going to, I think the final design is going to have. So I leave it like that. It looks good. If we find out there's a technical problem with it later, we'll.
Yeah. I think conceptually it's awesome. Like it looks great.
Barry,
And I hate to give you more work, but it looks so cool. I'd love to see some of the other components of the park on this. If whenever.
This is still.
I'm not pressuring you, Barry. Like that.
No.
If you like doing it, and this
just
is fun for
training.
you, and you want to do it, then I just think it's so cool.
This is not done by any means. It's not even close to being done. My plan is to let's see, what have I got here? Well, my plan is to model the pathway going all the way around. And now that Bill has given me the information, I'd like to do some modeling of the exercise equipment stations. We're talking about a pavilion over here, and of course the pathways coming around. So these pathways need to be completed. I'm going to plan to model the fire station and the storage barn out here. And there's probably dozens of other things to do. The pathways differ a little bit from what the town drawing has, but I think these are going to work well. What else?
Great. Yeah. That's perfect.
I haven't modeled the Friendship Park because I don't know that doing so is going to add a lot of value. But there's one of the things you can do is actually introduce photographs on planes that become visible and disappear, so that when you zoom to certain scenes, you can actually bring up a photographic image and then integrate that with the model. And I've tried that enough to know it works pretty well, but I haven't gotten to that point. So no, and as long as you guys consider this adding value, I'll keep working on it.
Barry, could I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
If you put this out, make sure that you put on that it is a tentative plan.
Good point.
Because otherwise, somebody's going to come back and say, but that's not what you promised. I saw it there.
Right.
You got to make sure, because
Just
there's
watermark
always
the
somebody.
whole thing saying tentative.
Yeah,
Yeah, the problem with
proposed or
this,
whatever.
yeah, something like this as opposed to an engineering drawing, people can visualize it better.
Oh yeah.
Than just a raw, and so
Yeah.
they will pick up on things that an engineering drawing wouldn't show. Something else that came out of this tonight that I think might be well worth doing, and that's actually incorporating the trees, the protected trees.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that would be probably worthwhile, unless there's a compelling need. I won't do it right away, but I think I was going to focus on the rest of the areas first.
Yeah, I think you're right on with the paths and, maybe in the exercise equipment. I would focus on those two things next.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know how hard it is, but if you were to, I guess, build the stations, I don't know, would you be able to like pick up and move a station to one spot to another so that we could visually see the impact of moving station 4 to where station 2 was, and then putting station 2 in the spot where we were thinking? I don't know how hard it is to move stuff around, but
I'll have to look at what Bill gave me, and also the company might have SketchUp is apparently it's a pretty well-known tool in certain industries, and companies like this playground equipment company may already have models in SketchUp.
oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
See, all these I didn't model these ball fields.
Yeah.
I just pulled them out of the library and checked them. Then I did a dimension check on them, make sure they were properly scaled.
Mm-hmm.
This came out of the library much wider, and this is not full width field for soccer or lacrosse.
What is the model type that goes into this? What's the extension file?
You mean the file?
What is the file type for the models?
SK. Tell you in a second.
SKP.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. They're all SKP files.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Barry. I mean, this is great. I appreciate all the hard work that you put into this and going through it with us. It really, I think, it captures everything at the park that we were trying to do, and helps us to visualize it. So I appreciate it. And again, like I said, I think it's great to be able to share a link to a video on the website, so people could go and again, the same experience that we're having and be able to visualize what it is that we're putting together in a totally new format like this is awesome. So
I have no problem with that. What I can do is I can take this, because I think Jim made an important suggestion. I can take the video and I'll just I'll just edit in a introductory page to say, what you're seeing is strictly a work in progress and tentative, and it's a planning tool. This is not a statement of, I'll put some words around to that.
It's not a final working document kind of thing.
Exactly. This doesn't reflect final decisions of the committees at this point.
Yeah.
But the only negative part of putting it up, I was thinking that this would be a great video for promoting people to go to the questionnaire. You put a video out.
I think we can still do that. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, by the time we send out the questionnaire, especially if we don't do it till the spring, much more time to add to it and update it, and
Yeah. So if we share it now, we could take some of the wind out of the sails. It's up to you guys. I'm good with doing it either way.
I think it'd be all right. I think honestly, if we just, because we just would post it on the website, we're not going to promote it or anything like that. I mean,
Yeah,
post it on the website, make it available for people to look at this point, and then 6 months, it's probably going to look very different. I would,
it will.
If
Yeah.
we want to, at that point, use it for promoting people completing the survey, I think it's a great idea.
All right. Well,
I would add the walking path and the exercise stations in before you put it out there publicly.
okay. I'm good with that.
And then a couple other just very minor things. I think the
There's a lot of
the stone Roberts Field marker and the garden, I think, were two separate entities. The stone marker was sort of a seating opportunity as well as a sign. If you look at the master plan page that has that on it, and I think I don't believe that there was a.
You talking about this rock here? Is that what you? Oh, we having
Yes.
a different? Yeah. So
Yes.
you like this to be? There was a picture of that.
That was separate from the garden.
Okay. So you think we should separate them? Okay.
Yeah, I think if you look at the master plan page, I think it shows it more of a seat with a stone cut name and established date. And I don't remember there being I don't think there was a stone wall. I mean, you're kind of adding to the expense there to do that. I get the consistency with the playground, but I think you can accomplish the garden without necessarily having to do that.
Absolutely.
But the big thing was that there were two separate entities, and that the seating and the signage were sort of a multi-purpose thing. And then I noticed that you showed some benches in the
Yes.
in the drawing. I think if you could keep them consistent with what's in the playground, I think there's some benefit there. And I also think that once you have the stations and the walking trail added, you could add in seating or bench opportunities there as well around the park.
Do you want to have benches here? By the way, I was just being lazy. These are just stock models. I just pulled them out of the library. So yeah, you're right. These should be made to look consistent. But do you want them here? Do you even want them here, or should I just take them out and?
Well, I don't. I know that I know people have asked for seating around the walking trail. So I think it's just a matter of how many can we afford and how many does it make sense to add to the plan.
Something at some point, if people wanted to donate a bench, I think
Yeah.
those are popular donations.
Okay. Well, I'll
fairly permanent fixture, so people like that stuff.
I'll get one of the current benches and model from that, and pepper along the walkway, and then we can decide where that we want to have them placed and how many.
Okay.
Bill, any other thoughts?
Adding in the seating on the by the skate shack, I think would be helpful as well too, to sort of make that give you a holistic view of it. Park.
You're talking about what exists today?
Yeah, I would think that those bench locations would probably be the same. Either they probably, if budget allowed, they could probably be replaced with the stone seating.
Oh,
They'd probably be roughly in the same spots.
Okay, I will. I'll be heading over to that area and doing modeling, and as I get there, I can share it. I can also share some images and/or videos with you guys outside the meeting, and then we can discuss them in the meetings. I think that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, that's okay.
What was your question?
He wants to be able to share, like if he puts together a video, just send us the link so we can look at it, and then we can discuss it as a group in a meeting. For me, that's not an issue.
Right, just not over email.
We can't discuss.
Yeah, we don't want to
can share it.
collaborate. We don't want to do too much collaboration. I might call one of you and just say, hey, do you think this is the direction we should be going?
I assume we can say good job over email without collaboration being entailed, right? I mean, you sent that out and I responded that it looked good.
Yeah.
I think if it's one-to-one, Elizabeth.
Well, I sent it to everyone in response because I wanted to give you kudos to everyone. I thought it looked good. Question is, does that somehow break the law of open meeting stuff? But
It depends on the interpretation.
Probably comes on the
Just
edge.
a
but you
note
can-
that in full disclosure, you were giving him credit for a good job and not making a decision.
yes.
Besides, you did it during the meeting, right?
I did write it during the meeting, but I wrote it on
Yeah.
email to just the group. So I said, good job. Looks great.
All right. Any other questions for Barry at this point, or we're at the home stretch here?
I'm just scanning some notes of mine to see. Oh, do you guys happen to know where you want the kiosk? Because the other kiosk is right, I think, where you're planning to have one of the exercise places. I think your first exercise station is going to be there.
Actually, that's why I think it'd be interesting to have the exercise equipment where they have it planned, because then that would help us to determine where we would want to move or place the kiosks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll model it that way. I'm just scanning quickly here to see if there's anything else that you guys need to be aware of for now. I think I've covered pretty much everything.
So your SketchUp has 2 kiosks or just 1?
What's that?
Does this plan have 2 kiosks or just 1? Was there one over in the middle of the parking lot as well?
Yeah. In other words, I put in 2 because I wanted to basically tell you guys. So that's one here, and then if you come over here, there's the same kiosk. So it's not that I'm trying to model to say that we're going to have 2 kiosks. It's to say we're going to decide what we're going to do. What we're going to do here.
Okay. Because I don't think we have enough information. I could be wrong, but I don't think we have enough information to justify 2 kiosks.
No, and I don't know that it would be what we want to do. Yeah, I wasn't trying to suggest that we have to. I just I wasn't clear where you were thinking, but I noticed I did notice that this one over here is what's called for in the Howard Stern's drawing. That's where they place this.
That's the Baba Booey kiosk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have your exercise station here, that might answer the question for us.
Well, it could be on the closest other corner. I mean, at some point, we also need to discuss what information do we want to add, what needs to be added to the kiosk.
Oh, good point. This is just a replica of what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we want this kiosk to be bigger? Designed differently?
Right.
I mean, this is the same guy that we've had. So.
Right. That's the same exact one that we have currently in the playground, right?
It is.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think it's good that you used it because it's consistent. And I think as we, kind of, move things forward and try to figure out, again, how big we want it, what are we going to put on it, where we're going to have it, as we can get closer to having one.
Exactly.
I think this is really going to help us out with that, though, Barry, by being able to visually see it.
Were we picturing this as a kiosk for the fields or for the whole of Roberts Field? You know what I mean?
I believe it's for the whole of Roberts Field, but
yeah.
Including the fields.
Including the fields, yeah.
I think I thought we talked about picturing it kind of larger with 3. Maybe I'm making this 3 prongs of, like a trifold. Were
I
we?
think there were a lot of different designs, I think, that we had talked about. What I can do, if it's something you guys want to revisit at the next meeting, I can pull up some of the old images that we have that we put together when we talked about it. I think, at least I think what we were talking about, though, back to I believe what you're referencing is the kiosk that's in the playground today. I'm thinking that's what we were making decisions on back then.
I think this might have been before that I'm talking about. This was a very old conversation.
Oh, okay, maybe one I wasn't a part of. I remember
Yeah.
the playground. I remember the playground one kiosk.
No, this is
Options for 3 sides and all that stuff, but
this was before the playground. This was more on the
okay.
master plan.
Yeah, we can revisit it. I mean, again,
If any of you guys, if any of you guys come across a kiosk, you know, you're Googling it and you see something you thought might be neat, send it my way. I can model it up. We'll throw it in and see how we like it.
Okay, yeah, I think when I was thinking trifold, I was thinking just because if it's for the whole park, I thought at some point we were talking about having a separate little thing for each, the fields, the nature area, the playground as the overarching, having separate
kiosks.
Well, no, one kiosk that had 3 separate, sections to note the info. Sure, Bill.
Yeah, I think that discussion happened around the playground one, and then we
that's what I thought.
we
Yeah.
opted for the seating opportunity.
Right.
But I think that if we can define what it is we want to add to it, that'll sort of define how much space we need and where we are.
Mm-hmm. So I'll take a note for the next meeting that's something we want to talk about, and I'll set aside some time for that. And then again, I'll see if I can find imagery from before of different kiosk designs that we had looked at in the past, and we can have a discussion about it.
That sounds good. By the way, can you guys see me as well as when I'm screen sharing?
Yeah, yes. Yep.
And the lovely, covered bridge behind you.
All right. Anything else, Barry, for the group, or anything else?
No, I've covered everything that I think I wanted to share, and I got feedback. I thought you guys were going to be tearing things apart a little bit more. We did say that I'm going to remove the this fence, right, and then just in place of it have the one back fence.
Yep.
I was going to give you a hard time about the fact that the cars look like they're from the 80s, but that,
I love it. The more retro cars, the better, Barry.
I'll tell you something. It's amazing. There must be 100 vehicles that are all. I didn't model these. I can show you that.
They're bringing me back to my childhood. I'm just saying.
I want to see a DeLorean.
to the Matchbox kind of cars.
Yeah,
you got the CR or the what is it? The CRX, that white one. That's an old CRX.
Yeah.
It's,
and I think there's backstop fencing on both ends of the multi-use field.
Bill, you're gonna have to say that again.
I think there's backstop fencing on both sides of the multi-use field. You're just showing it on one, but I think that they're planning on putting it on both.
Why?
The main goal was to block the playground. What was the idea on the other side?
Keep it out of the water, as I recall.
Probably, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I guess you're
keep
right.
The ball's within range. That's what it's for. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's what I believe the plan is.
It'd be good to see both anyway. So because again, just for visual purposes. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
If you need some help measuring, give me a call. I've got a nice 300-foot tape.
Oh, I just bought a brand new 100-foot one.
Oh, well, now we got 400.
And now you're outdoing me. Actually, I'll take you up on that. I have.
Okay, you got my number. Give me a call.
I have a whole bunch of things I want to measure now. now that I've done this much, go
Alrighty.
back to the field. I just want to verify, do a lot of verification now to make sure that what I'm presenting
We're going to
is
find
accurate.
some interesting stuff. Trying to combine, Google with actual maps. There's some. One is spherical trig, and the other one is plane trig. Never the twain shall meet. Good enough for government work.
There you go. Right.
Incidentally, something that caught my attention, and I thought you guys would probably find this amusing. When I in Google Map, I don't know if you're aware of the fact that you can go up in Google and you can actually select the time of the image. It's the history button, and you can see this. So you can see the image of this playground in the old playground or the new playground.
Yeah.
But when I was playing with this thing, at one point, you can't see it here, but in the Google map, I came down like this, and lo and behold, the trees stuck up in 3D.
Huh.
I have never seen that before. I didn't know satellite imagery did that. So I don't know whether it was just a fluke that somebody was experimenting. There was a whole bunch of images in a very narrow history time period.
There
And
used
one
to
of the,
be more 3D Google Earth in certain areas.
Yeah.
Like there's
I think that
buildings.
they took
and
pictures
stuff.
from the car or the satellite. So this is a satellite picture, but then I think they combine satellite and car because you can do with like what's called street view.
Mhm.
Street
yes,
view, it is more three-dimensional.
yeah.
So you may have zoomed down into a point where you hit street view, where maybe they took a picture from the road or from the parking.
Yeah, they've got a car that goes around with a tower on it. The guy
Yeah.
drives up and down the streets.
Right. There's also though like a bird's eye sort of level. If you go back and forth between Bing Maps and Google Maps, there
Mhm.
used to be more three-dimensional. You could get it's more of an angled view.
Mhm.
And they have some composites they've created for 3D. And in cities that will give you the option, you can see a lot of cities, you can see them with the full buildings in 3D.
It's actually even another thing. It's interesting. I think you can do it straight on Google. If you go to certain cities, like if you go to Paris and go to the Eiffel Tower, and you
Yeah.
click on it, you can pull it into SketchUp. You could
You're gonna
literally.
You're gonna
you
give us
can-
an Eiffel Tower in the middle of
There we go.
It
That would be
probably
fun.
would be a little distracting, but you have to admit it would be kind of interesting.
It would be an attention getter.
It
that's
would be an attention getter to put the Eiffel Tower here, and
I
yeah,
think you should put it in the model and just blow people away.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, we're totally building that.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
well,
who's
you just put a Facebook post out or a communication to you guys that gets onto Facebook and just say, hey, look, guys, the Eiffel Tower assembly, the duplicate of the Eiffel Tower is late. And it looks like we're not going to get the delivery for another 2 weeks on this thing, and we're going to have to do a lot of assembly. But here's exactly how it's going to look, and yeah,
Interesting. That would be funny.
I've discovered how many times I've been able to say things a certain way, and people just buy it hook, line, and sinker.
All right. Well, if you're all set, Barry,
I'm done. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick
go
question?
back to me, and then
Sorry,
I'll
can I ask
finish this
one
off.
quick question? Barry, can you remind me where you look to change the timeline? I mean, the time that you're pulling the imagery from?
I can't.
I
off the top
believe
of
it's
my
the
head.
lower left-hand corner. Mine shows up as 1995, and you click on it, and it'll give you a bar, and then you can progress along that for different years.
Lisa Beth, what I can do is a couple things. I'm not going to try to do it right here now, but I can look it up, send you an email. I can do
All right.
a very quick. I can just do a quick screen video, for
That'd be
30
Awesome.
seconds.
I know it's one of those
show you
things
how to do
I know I've done before. I just can't.
Yep. but I know it's the history. I just did a stop share.
All right, let's see.
And I think
Oh, hostess. Oh, I gotta go back here. How do I take back? Participants.
We're done?
I'm trying to find how I get well, there's like 2 more things and then we're done. I'm just trying to take back control here and then I can close this out. I don't know why it's not letting me though. Do you need to give me control, Barry?
I didn't.
Maybe
Okay.
because he's co-host, maybe he has.
So you're trying to do a screen share and you can't?
Yeah.
Have you stopped sharing?
I have. But let me make sure that I have. I mean, share at a time, multiple participants. Well, I'm
I
just
think you
changing
need
it
to go to
multiple
participant. Barry, can you go to participant? And then,
You should be able to share now. I made it so that multiple
oh,
participants.
I
can
got
share.
it. Yep. We're good. Okay. Share. Are you seeing the Robertsfield tree walk?
Yeah.
There you go. So because Bill had sent me some images of some of the work you guys put together to highlight it. I think it looks awesome. It's really cool. It's great. And I was looking at some of the sign trees, and I had no idea what some of these trees were called or even anything about them. So I was a little lesson for myself, and I'm going to take the girls down there this weekend to walk through and show them. So it looks awesome.
That's a huge tree. Is that like a giant redwood? I mean,
these are actual pictures that these actually exist out there now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I collaged it together, of course, but it does kind of look like one giant tree, right?
Yes.
But I don't know yet. Bill, Jim, do you guys want to have anything to say about the work you guys did? It looks awesome. So I just wanted to give you.
It does.
I'll put a plug in for the tree committee. They came up with the shekels for the thing.
That's great. Awesome. I appreciate it. Bill, anything you want to add or?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, and the feedback that we got on Facebook was all positive. So I think folks are happy with it.
Now, Bill, you've got these tags all take you to a website that gives you the full tree information. These QR tags. Where is that? That website is done.
The town is hosting it takes you to there's a PDF file for each tree, and the town hosts that. So if it ever needs to be updated, we just update it with the town.
So you did those, right?
Correct. And then the documents as well. So the documents, each one of those, the documents includes a cover page, a couple pages of fact sheets, and then a copy of the tree walk map.
You and Jim have been very busy.
Absolutely, I like it, and I think it's a great idea for you were mentioning before with the exercise equipment, doing something similar with the signage and the QR code, and, the same setup with the PDF. So I think that would be
right.
Yeah, that's great.
So and so you probably can't see it, but there's a URL as a QR code. So if you can't use the QR code, then you can go to just type in the tiny URL.
Very cool. Nice job. You guys did an awesome work on this. Looks really good.
Sorry, I'm a little stuck on the last thing we were talking about. I swear this is my last comment, but I was just messing around with Google Maps. If you go into the menu on the left-hand side when you're looking at the park and you switch to globe on the left-hand side under the Google Maps menus, you will see the old park and the 3D trees around the old park. So it's when they did their globe update, but they seem to have moved away from that. So.
Gotcha. Well, maybe you can grab them from there, Barry. You never know.
Oh, no, I don't need to grab much, just
Yeah.
found it. I didn't know they had
Yeah.
that, so it caught me by
Mm.
surprise, Street
Yep.
view, I understand, because you're driving down the street, but in order for this to be picked up by a car, they'd have to be driving across Robert Hill, and maybe that's where some of the tire marks have come from. I don't know.
No, this is all from satellite.
Yeah. All right, so we're on to volunteer projects. So again, we're still trying to find someone for the bathroom enclosure. So Elizabeth, if you could again try to make time to have that conversation, and anybody else, if you speak to anybody, let's try to.
I actually have somebody in mind. I'm going to reach out to for that.
Are we talking about the bathroom or the covered bridge to the store?
Bathroom enclosure, but the bathroom enclosure was the one that was the project for the
Eagle Scout?
Eagle Scout, yeah.
Okay. Good thing I didn't talk to someone. I was thinking it was
Now, the covered bridge for the
Never mind.
welcome area obviously would be another great volunteer project for somebody that's on the list too. So if there's anybody else who would be interested in that as well.
Would you like to have the same covered bridge as it's being shown? It was shown in the model, the same one that I've got behind me here. Would you like?
I think so. Yeah, that's what I believe. That's what we were talking about. Was
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be, we want it to be unified.
Yep. I know that there was some standing and painting going on. I don't know if there's any other future projects that require assistance with that. I'd mentioned that I did want the picnic benches. Or picnic tables. I might be able to get around to doing the other one, but I'll also, Bill, if you want to send me that gentleman, or no, not Bill. Adele's going to send me that guy from Billerica's name, and then maybe he's wants to help out with that. That'd be great. And I know that Sandy's always doing weeding and gardening that needs help. And then Bill, you had sent me information around some vandalism that had happened at the park. I didn't want to share the pictures because I thought they'd be, could be offensive to some people. So I just thought it'd be good to note it.
What happened?
There's, I think, probably some kids vandalized some of the rock and some signage with some, anti-Semitic symbols and pretty bad language. So.
When was that?
So it's been going on for a couple of years now. There's based on the style and what's written. It's more than likely the same person, and it's primarily on the Jonathan Road Trail. So the police know they've increased that. We cleaned the what was written off of the rocks and signs, and the police are aware, and they increased their patrols of that area.
Is it the same rock at the end of
That is what it
Jonathan?
is.
Same rock?
Yes. Yeah.
I have a thought on that. I have an old trail cam that we could maybe hide up in a tree there.
Yeah.
Do that on
That-
public
that-
property?
If there's not a lot of wildlife that triggers it, that thing can cruise for 2 to 3 months on a set of batteries. It's action triggered. So if somebody comes in there,
I mean, as long as you're not afraid, afraid of losing it, because
I'm not
there's a good
afraid.
chance that.
It's. I wouldn't give you one of my good ones, but when we upgraded, it's a lower resolution, but I think it might do the job if we can find a good
Be
spot.
great.
Yeah,
With the rules-
that's a great idea. We can put
with
it
the
high in the
rules
tree.
about-
Yeah.
With the rules about videoing people being, or reporting people being aware of them, isn't there signage required when you have video on people?
I don't think so.
No, and here's why. You can't walk down a town street or a city street without being on video. Look at all these people that
True.
you're seeing in the news that have been caught by video cameras.
Right.
No, I
A public
I
forest.
think the rule is that you just can't videotape somebody without them knowing it and then use it in court or something. It wouldn't be admissible in court type of thing.
Why? You see all the stuff going on in the news these days with police shooting and all that kind of stuff. It's all
Yeah,
caught
you
on.
get body cams. Yeah. I have friends that drive around with going in their car, right? So I don't think it's an issue. But so I think it's a good idea, Barry. Yeah, if you're willing to do it, I think that's fantastic. And you know what? If the person's, I know this is just a recording, but when we post it, if they watch it and they're listening to it, hopefully this deters them.
Yeah, I don't know if we would post it post it publicly, but we would at least turn it over to the police.
I think what.
Oh, no. I'm saying because we're
They watch
talking about it
this
now
video.
during our meeting, and the video meeting's going to be posted. So
Oh, yeah, I have no clue how many
it is
people
watching
listen.
us right now. No, not to do it anymore because you're going to get caught. So
You've been warned.
you've been warned.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Probably not.
I'm sure whoever's doing vandalism is watching 3-hour committee meetings. I mean, that seems like a likely demographic.
Right.
No, but I think that people in the neighborhood, if they see something, they should call the police. I know a
They
lot of
should.
people don't feel comfortable calling police with stuff like that, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, I've talked to people who've been approached on the trails and felt uncomfortable, and were hesitant to call. And I mean, the police will even say, "Just call us, let us know." It doesn't hurt, and if it stops, this kind of activities, then it's worth it.
Right,
And you can be
approached on
anonymous.
trails in terms of what? In Robertsfield?
I didn't understand your question.
Sorry, in Robertsfield, you've talked to people who've been approached on the trails by people?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
to
we
know.
had somebody a couple of years ago who was chopping down trees. Somebody ran across them, but didn't report it. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's uncomfortable sometimes to be a snitch, but it's good too. So
Yeah.
It's everyone's.
Yeah, you can, if somebody's worried about it, they can, make an anonymous tip, whatever, and
you don't have to call 911. Just call the regular line and just let them know. And the police have been really good. They will increase the patrols and take care of. They've done a really good job of taking care of the park.
Yep.
People
being
are also very receptive if you approach them right. I actually kicked a couple of kids out of the park when it was closed, but I did it in a way, and I said, take your time. I get it. You want to be out here, but you really can't. And they were very, oh my goodness, and they were very apologetic. And as they walked out, they kind of apologized and said, don't worry about it. So it's all about how you. A lot of times it's about how you approach people, and then again, some people you just can't do that with.
Right. All right. So I think that's pretty much everything. And Bill, was there any Friends of Robertsfield activities you wanted to mention, or?
Sure. So we completed some trail maintenance last week. Cleaned up some of the low-hanging stuff. Sandy's planning on doing a fall cleanup that would include some weeding in the gardens and any other kind of trail maintenance and stuff like that. So we'll publish a date once that's confirmed.
Okay. And everything's available on the Facebook page.
Yeah, it's the best place to get information is the Facebook group, the Friends of Robertsfield.
Okay.
The playground sculpture is still being worked on. It's being welded, and I'll provide updates when they're given to me on that. But that's still moving forward. The signs are on hold now until we can finalize where the exercise stations are going to go, because we need a new drawing for the entire field that would include the exercise stations and a walking trail. That's what led to me asking Steve for that map. So once we can finalize that, we can get that new drawing done, and then we can order the signs. We've got a vendor that's going to work with us on printing the signs and then get them installed. And the stone marker, we've almost finalized the list of donors for the donor plaque. We'll have that ordered and cast hopefully before the end of the year. We also cut some tic-tac-toe pucks for the tic-tac-toe stump, but with all of the COVID stuff, we decided not to put them out because they could be a place to transmit germs. So once everything kind of clears out, Sandy's got them, she's got them painted, and we'll build a little holder for them on the stump and put those out there.
It's great. No, I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. That's awesome. And yeah, I get it with the tic-tac-toe stuff. That makes sense. Maybe hold them till the spring, and we can put them out then. It'd be great.
Good question. Not that I want to start a whole conversation now, but where are things at with the water and the sandbox?
As of right now, it's kind of been tabled, right? So I think we had made recommendations to the DPW. I actually still have to. I was going to go out there and try to dig a hole and see if it got down anywhere.
Yeah.
But the lack of rain, it pretty much has been a non-issue. So it's really low on the priority list, I guess.
Okay.
Because
All right. I just couldn't remember where we were.
Yep, that's pretty much where it ended up. So
The only plus side of drought.
yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Well, on
Great.
something like that, you take a 5-gallon bucket of water. And once you dig your hole, you throw the water in. And then you see how long it takes to drop or be absorbed.
Things are so dry right now, the water will be gone before it hits the ground.
No, not if it's compacted. It's just gonna,
Yeah.
it's kind of like pouring water into a glass. It's not.
I was thinking I'd wait till like October when we get some real rain. I don't know.
No. If you need a hand, give me a call.
Okay, you got it. Thanks, Jim.
And I do have the post hole digger if you become inspired after the next rainstorm.
Yes, there we go. I just wanted to bring back up, again, these are the park rules for public health as it relates to the COVID-19 guidelines. So we just need to make sure, again, do your best to follow the guidelines. And that pretty much concludes everything other than talking about next meeting dates. So Barry, I know you're probably gonna need some time to work on the additions that you're going to be doing. I got a lot of stuff to go back to the DPW with. So what are we thinking for next meeting? Late October, early November. What do you guys think?
So we're at the beginning of September,
Yes.
mid-October. I mean, I'll have probably enough done in the next month to, easily to be worth sharing and discussing, maybe even sooner. Because right now I'm going faster than I was in the beginning.
Okay, so why don't I do this? We can do a tentative for mid-October and
Sure.
check in with you in a couple weeks, see how you're doing.
Okay.
And then if we need to push things out, we can. It's not the end of the world. But as of right now, we'll tentative for around mid to late October for the next meeting.
That sounds good.
I would just add that, if getting the signs in the playground this year are a goal, the sooner the better. Because I can't print them. We can't print them until the exercise station locations are locked up.
Right.
So
I guess the goal would be at the next meeting to lock down exercise locations so that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I got to get Steve and the DPW and see if they're even willing to move them. I don't know. Like,
Right.
I'm with them the feedback that Bill gave us around moving 4 to 2 and all that stuff, and see what kind of feedback we get. And I don't know. Who knows how long that's going to take, right? So
So can you guys just give me quickly on those stations? What did we want to change for the exercise? Now model it that way. Did we want 4 to go to 2? Does that sound right?
yeah, 4 to go to 2, and then 2 to go towards the end of the path in between the baseball fields. The path coming out of the woods, where the
Further
other.
away from the pond than where 4 is situated currently, I think.
Yep. Right.
Good, thank you.
All right. Perfect. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I got. We made it. I don't know. We're 2 and that's my daughter waving, saying hi. What are we like? Almost. I guess we're at about 3 hours right now, so not too bad. We made it under 3.5 for you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
So does anybody want to?
before the next meeting?
Yeah.
Well, before you just so for the next meeting, is it possible? Can you? There's benefit in having the meeting presentation document prior to the meeting, so that we can kind of review what's going to come up. Can
Sure.
you provide that before the meeting, and then Also, if we know that we're not going to be on air, if you can let me know as much in advance, if you want me to continue to send out meeting notices and post that stuff, it's important to know if it's going to be on air or not, if it's going to be
Gotcha.
live
Okay.
or not.
Yep, I can let you know.
So the meeting details and the meeting presentation document as much in advance of the next meeting or any meetings as possible.
Okay, you got it. I will share it with everybody prior, and I'll let you know if the next one's going to be live or if we're going to have to do a recording like this one again, so that you don't have to send out the meeting notices.
Quick question. This is the first meeting of this committee, correct, technically?
The newest member of the committee is Barry, but Barry's been on every meeting this year.
Right. No, I just mean in terms of this is technically the first meeting of the new committee. Is that true? Since I didn't
I don't
get.
believe so.
Well, I only just got
technically
sworn in.
Well, technically, it's not even really a meeting because there's not a quorum.
Oh, well, in this case, it was a lovely 3-hour non-meeting. All
The
right.
other thing is
I guess
meeting minutes. I know we're woefully behind. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any meeting minutes posted for the last 2 years.
Yep, I know. All right, so we got to work on those. I know
the
Justin.
question is, do we have to meet for the next meeting? Do we have to?
What?
I can't remember where things are at with people having particular jobs within the committee.
Yeah, I mean, we can go over that. I mean, I know Justin was listed as the secretary. We were co-chairs, me and you, Elizabeth, and then everyone else was committee members. So that's kind of where it stands today. But we can look at a revision to that at the next meeting if that's something you want to talk
Yeah,
about.
I guess I just didn't know whether we had to for the first meeting of the new committee, but this is technically not the first meeting of the new committee because it's not a quorum, so that doesn't matter. But I guess the question is, if it's not a quorum, well, never mind.
Good night, folks.
Forget
We got a
it.
lot of stuff done, so thank you guys. I don't know, do we need to adjourn and get a second if we're not a quorum or no?
I guess that's kind of where I don't know.
Go ahead and just, we'll do it anyway, just for, you know.
All right, I vote to adjourn.
Barry,
Hi.
second.
Barry, can you second?
I'll second it. Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect.
Yay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a
Good
great
night.
night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.